Good afternoon, everyone. We're going to get started. This is a public hearing on the Committee on Public Safety to review Bill number 240010. Mr. Glass, will you please read the title of the ordinance?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Bill number 240010, amending Chapter 9, 5900 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Prohibition on Certain Gambling Machines and Skills Games, to add additional prohibitions and provide for remedies, all under certain terms and conditions.
I will note that we have a quorum of the Public Safety Committee represented in Member Brooks, Member Harity, Member Gaudier, Member Lozada, and myself. So we are officially open for business. Before we get started, I would like to, if you will indulge me, kind of talk about how we got here. In 2011, I think it was, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania saw fit to want to explore legal gambling casinos in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. And what I remember at that time, members, is that we had over 24 hearings to talk about how they can open, how they should be operated, what type of security should be with that, in order to make it safe for communities. I remember going to many of those hearings and painstakingly going through item by item, line by line, on how they should govern their affairs. In 2017, there was an amendment to it, which would allow skill games to actually operate at rest stops, truck stops in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. They had certain provisos that covered parking, the number of parking that was there, the amount of distance between other communities, and they went into effect. But there were many in the industry that saw that as a green light to invade Philadelphia County, the city of Philadelphia, in neighborhoods. And what we hoped for was hope from the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania on how they should be regulated, how they should be taxed, how they should be licensed, how many calibrations should happen to determine winners and what their payouts should be. We got none of that. So we kicked the can down the road until we passed, or we introduced, an ordinance to take cities of the first class, Philadelphia in particular, on how we govern these machines. So what I had hoped for this hearing was to be able to answer certain questions. How many machines are in Philadelphia? Where are they located? What is the payout ratio per dollar put in, per receipt for winners? What is the security apparatus involved? How close can they be to public schools? And unfortunately, we will get none of those answers because we don't regulate them. And I take it as a point of somewhat disrespect to the city of Philadelphia, recognizing Member Thomas has joined us, that they go where they want, set up where they want, and do not tell us where they are. And in addition to this concern, we don't tax them. We have things that we have to fund every year, whether it's affordable housing, whether it's education, whether it's crime and public safety, all of which we have projected over the 5-year course of budgeting deficits. So we don't know what we don't know by way of revenues that come in or should come in to the city of Philadelphia. But I have some encouraging news. Governor Shapiro has captured the interest of this industry and is proposing a 42% taxation on these machines. And we talked to members, our colleagues at the state level, in the Senate and in the House, about how cities of the first class can determine these machines' locations, hours of operation. There is a terrain research, what is it, Mr. Glass? terrain,
Risk terrain management, Mr.
risk
Chairman.
terrain management, which is one of the items in the public blueprint for of Safer Philadelphia. And what it talks about is not the who committed the crime, but where the crime was committed. I will note that we had a shooting involving 2 officers and a suspect. Suspect passed away. I believe it was either in your district or in Member Young's district. And then about 3 days later, we had in my district a shooting that resulted in a murder in a corner store again. What do these 2 instances have in common? Both of them had skills games being operated. What we tend to find is that people that do other things occupy these locations and in effect pay rent. When asked, why are you there? What reason do you have? Are you buying a loaf of bread? No, I'm playing the machines. And that is a form of allowing them to not be trespassing. So these are questions that we need answers to as a municipality. We are not against commerce and business. We are for it being regulated correctly. And this is what this hearing is about today as we move these possibilities forward. And one other item. Many people ask, well, what happens if the state comes in and introduces legislation that could potentially supersede what we do here in City Council? Well, I would clap slowly for them because it's about damn time. And we've been kicking the can down the road too long, and almost to a degree that these operators believe that they don't have to answer to the city of Philadelphia. Well, that ends today. I would like to offer an opportunity for any of the members of this committee to make a statement. Seeing none, thank you for your attendance. Mr. Glass, who do we have as the first panel to testify?
Mr. Chairman, our first panel is Philadelphia Police Commissioner Kevin Bethel and Deputy Commissioner Fran Healy.
Welcome, gentlemen. Both of you are not new to this process, but in your official capacity, Commissioner, welcome.
Good afternoon. No, I'm good. I don't know where's the button here.
Ready, sir?
Please begin. Proceed with your testimony.
I'll just do the introductions, and my name is Deputy Commissioner Fran Healy. I'm here with, obviously, Commissioner Bethel. Our testimony is actually on the record already in support of this bill, and including the amendments there, too. The Commissioner wanted to speak today and make comments as to the bill personally for his own personal beliefs, but our testimony is on the record and has already been submitted. With that, I'd introduce Commissioner Bethel.
That is a wise use of your rank.
Well, you know, it's always having as your chief of staff and who's an attorney who's always here. But I just wanted to come, my comments are brief, but I wanted to come first and foremost to thank the committee for their work in bringing forth, a bill that helps us as we go about our work. I mean, as you know, my charge under the mayor is to really address the quality of life issues that impact our community, the nuisance locations that impact our community, and the like, right? And so part of my purpose of being here today is stand along with Fran to make sure it's understood how much I appreciate the committee willing to lean into this space. For somebody who's been in law enforcement for 38 years, I've watched the devastating impact that we've had, whether it be alcohol introduced into our communities as it relates to stop and goes, whether it be the other gambling machines that we had in there, slot machines that we would see in our space. We also have looked at the drugs that have come into our community, particularly when we have these corner stores, as you indicated, have been a gathering spot and oftentimes has led to a significant level of violence in those locations. And so we can no longer sit here and allow, we can talk about drugs being entered in my community as a kid, and we understand the addiction that it has brought with it. We see the alcohol that's come into our marginalized communities, and we've seen the alcoholism that has come with that. So we introduce gambling machines into our community and don't expect that we're going to have issues with gambling and addiction to that as well. And so those things that are happening in our community are significant. The violence that we see around our stores and when we have these gatherings, as you know, particularly in some of our more violent pockets, and then just adding another ingredient into that space does not help our work. And I'm so proud as I've joined the organization, back in the organization, to see the work that Commissioner Healy and our nuisance task force, working in collaboration with many of the individuals here, to really start to focus on those nuisance locations and focus on those things that impact our community each and every day. And so I just wanted to come here again to thank the committee for your work to lean forward, to get ahead of the things that are happening, and not just waiting for the response and see the downstream. You've seen it anecdotally, and we'll start to look at the data to see how things are going forward. But I just wanted to bring that information forward and say that I'm here, and I want the community to know we're taking these matters seriously, that those things that impact those communities, the mayor has very clearly indicated the quality of life issues are not acceptable, and we're going to be doing everything possible as I take over the organization to make sure we're listening to the community and listen to the issues that they are raising on a daily basis.
First of all, thank you, and you've leaned in both when you got sworn or announced your new position in Kensington, in the heart of some of the most challenged neighborhoods in Philadelphia. One of the things with the terrain modeling, we've noted, and you can see parts of it in the 57-block study, where there is a propensity for increased violence. You will find stores that have these types of machines operating in them. And what you find, it's not one thing, it's a preponderance of a lot of things. One, when you sell Lucy cigarettes. B, when you sell liquor by the drink. See, when you have these kinds of gambling machines, it almost creates a watering hole for prey. And for them to not have to go far, because eventually people will come to them. And we are concerned as to, A, keep track of that through the Nuisance Business Task Force. If someone is operating a business and none of these things happens, but if in addition to that, violence, robbery, firearms, gun violence, we want to know. And we want to kind of move in on that to improve the quality of life in our neighborhoods. We introduced a bill, good God, none of you were here. I'm getting old. Where we asked for merchants to actually, it was the Good Samaritan piece, Josh, where we wanted store owners to take a greater responsibility about what happened in and around their stores to protect their customers. That was met with a lot of opposition. A lot of opposition. And I kind of understand it. It is not their job to want to jump into the fray to make sure that, Member O'Rourke, how are you, sir? Welcome. That we didn't want them to jump in, and Member Young, I see you, to jump into the midst of being police officers. But that exchange of information via conversations with the police or with cameras that were affixed, a lot of people didn't want to do it because they were afraid. When we were at the governor's budget address, Commissioner, and members from outside of Philadelphia that were state reps and senators said, well, quite frankly, what is Philly going to do for Philly? What are we going to step up and do to protect our own neighborhoods? And so, in a way, this answers in part that question. So tell me, how is the Nuisance Business Task Force tracking these kinds of activities? I think it was a surprise to me when I attended your meeting how specific you guys are organized. Can you share that with the members of this committee?
If I may. As you know, in November of this past year, we pushed forth out from the nuisance business unit that we have a tracker. 9-4400 of the code is very specific as to first, second, third letters or notification, as well as the critical nuisances. So we need to come up with a system to better track that so we can help and assist the captains in the field. So that's in play now. 2 weeks ago, understanding that this is much bigger, we need to put more things into this tracker so we can track them better. We've had a meeting about maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago with the OIT folks, expanding the scope of that tracker to put more information into it and track it more effectively. So we can basically CompStat the data. We can put that data up on a spreadsheet, or not a spreadsheet, on a screen, so we can actually see what's happening in each location. Some of the other things we want to track is not just these machines, but also, I think it's 92006, don't quote me on a quote. It's those businesses doing repairs on city streets. A lot of businesses, specifically in the 12th district and some other districts in the 26th, that's a big problem. So we're looking to make sure that we track all this information into this tracker to make sure that, in fact, we are keeping track of it, but also that we're taking the appropriate actions and coordinating with the captain. We do have a centralized unit, but that does not mean we're just dumping on the centralized unit. We're there to assist the captains to do what they need to do. So we're working in tandem to make sure we use all our energies with sort of synergy. So we're actually doing more with less people, which we all have to do. But the tracker will be revised, and it's being revised now. We asked for them to include all the issues that the nuisance enforcement unit actually touches upon to make sure all those elements are included into the tracker, not just 94400. That's in works as of about 3 weeks ago.
And if I could add to that, even today, I met with our mapping team after our crime briefing, and we were able to start mapping those locations. So we're starting to put those on the map, which will be very important for us, because during our crime briefing, where we're walking through the process with our commanders, we'll be able to pull those locations up and see exactly the kind of activity we're seeing around those locations, which will help us as we move forward for the data.
Yeah, the place is as important as who commits the crime. Whether we talk about mass transit or other places, we need to know where it's happening so that we can deploy resources to prevent it. So I appreciate us all working together to try to figure this out. Public safety looks different in different neighborhoods and in different businesses, but there's a recurring theme that statistics tend not to lie. And wherever we start to see this preponderance of activity, we want to allocate the right resources to prevent it. Any questions? I'm going to go this way.
Thank you so much for your testimony, Commissioner Bethel. I have a couple of questions. One, do we have a sense of how many businesses have these skills games? I know you said we're creating a map, but do we have sort of a global sense?
No, we do not have that at this point.
Okay.
We don't even know.
From an implementation standpoint, and I do support this legislation, we have a ton of these businesses, but from an implementation standpoint, do we have a method of sort of proactively notifying these businesses if in the event that, this law goes through? And will we do that?
The issue right now, as of the last vote on this, it was Paco vetoed, so the issue is still in a little bit of a limbo. But what we are doing with these businesses in the interim, and thanks to City Council for the 944 amendments that you made forth, they give us a lot more tools to play with. And probably the most important one is the critical nuisance. That means if a violent crime happens on location, we can actually take immediate action to move on the license. In the course of that, now we understand some places are legitimate places, it's just a bad thing happened on a good place. So what we've really put in place in the nuisance unit is we'll do a preliminary investigation on every incident that has any business that has that meets the definition, serious shooting, homicide, rape, or aggravated assault. And in the course of that, if we identify, not only if we identify the machines that are in the location, but also we'll notify if they stop and go that doesn't have enough seats. Okay, we're going to use all that information as best we can to go against the license. So we'll give them notification that, as part of the resolution for the critical nuisance, they have to enter an abatement plan. Part of that abatement plan, what we've started doing is requiring them to remove the machines out of their place. So that will be part of an abatement plan. Now, they have to do that voluntarily at this point, because right now they're technically not illegal until we vote on this bill.
I think I'm asking something different. If we're mapping or tracking businesses that have these skills games,
Well, let me be clear. We're not tracking the business. There's no way for us to track these machines where they're located. They're in everywhere. They've proliferated not just in Philadelphia, but across the state due to the illegal ambiguity since 2016. They're everywhere.
My
So-
statement was to nuisance properties overall, not specifically to the gaming at this
Yeah.
point, just to the nuisance properties that we've identified.
I understand. I think I'm putting out there is, if this legislation is to pass, is there a way, and should we proactively try to notify businesses that this law is passed, this is now illegal, so that they can take action on their own, as opposed to waiting until something happens and having to come up with an abatement plan?
Absolutely. We 100% agree that there should be a period of awareness. Many of the business people have no idea that this is an issue for them. And so I would definitely believe that there should be some kind of a period of time where they would be notified before the law was officially enacted.
Thank you.
Yes,
And I
ma'am.
think, the last thing I wanted to say is I wholeheartedly support the tracker being updated with these sort of nuisance repair shops that are doing repairs on the street. We have a lot of those in my district.
Yeah, and I think, Councilman, definitely. I mean, the fact, people take that as, again, it's an area where people think the community doesn't care, and so you have to watch the oil being washed down your street, and you're stepping in oil because somebody's dropped oil all over the street, right? Or just left those items on the highway and kept going. So 100%, we're going to really lean into all of those issues that as well, because we think it's a continuum of, just a gradual continuum of layers of things that are happening in our community that we're not taking action on, and those are the things that are impacting these communities on a daily basis. To some people, they say, oh, it's just a great thing. They don't realize the aftermath of what happens when somebody drops 5 gallons of oil on the street and think it's just supposed to wash away on its own.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Before I call on my colleague for the next question, let me just mention that I think that part of the work that we need to also be doing is communicating with our Commerce Department, who manage some of the commercial corridors in different neighborhoods, because they are on the front lines, and they see every day how some of these establishments are detrimental to some of our commercial corridors, not just our neighborhoods, right? Not just our everyday corner stores and the residents, but to our commercial corridors. And so I think that if we're going to start to gather information about where some of these establishments are, working with our Commerce Department, who manage some of these commercial corridors, where many of these businesses pop up overnight sometimes, some as quickly as within a 2-week period, right? We need to make sure that they are a part of this process, not only so that if this becomes law, but so that they can also help us gather some of the information around where they are.
Yes, ma'am.
I want to recognize Councilmember Harity.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Just a couple questions. I know you're making a database now. Are there any numbers so far on robberies outside these places? Because in my neighborhood, it happens quite often, but isn't always reported. So I know of one instance where a neighbor of mine's, a senior, was in a store. She put a lot of money in there and finally hit the machine. They paid her. She got about a half a block away, and the young guys robbed them. So would like to see any kind of numbers that we have on that kind of stuff, besides just the outright violent, what kind of theft is going on around that area that may not necessarily be getting put to that business, but is related to that business? Did you get that?
The answer, we'll do the best we can. The issue, the motive of the robbery is a little hard for us from a statistical perspective to identify, but it's not saying it's impossible. We'll do our best to try to track the motives and see it track whether or not we can find patterns or trends specifically associated with these machines per se, because a lot of times, if you notice, they're in the heart of some other crime and disorder, so it's very hard to
absolutely.
distinguish that as what's really the driver, but I think, as was mentioned before, it's a combination of the above. So if we start whittling it down, we can hopefully make an impact. But we'll do the best I can to try to figure out that with our data people.
Okay, thank you, that's all I have.
Can I just make one comment, Councilmember Lozada? You mentioned commerce. Just so you're aware, we do meet regularly with the a nuisance task force that is run by actually the mayor's office now through Kristen Bray. Commerce is always a part of that meeting, so they're always included in everything that we're discussing as we move forward.
Questions from?
question.
Oh, you can't hear me? All right, can you hear me now?
No, not yet.
Hello? Okay. Yeah, question is about enforcement, like how will it be enforced? I know you talked about tracking and identifying, but how will we after the, Councilmember Gautier talked about notification, legislation passed, what does enforcement look like? And then also, will there be penalties for users of machines once this enforcement happens in a nuisance property?
When it comes to the nuisance, in my written testimony, I was very honest. We have to do an undercover investigation to see whether or not there's a payout. I mean, so that it's not just the mere presence of the machines, so it will take some work. Okay, I'm not going to lie. We have our vice unit is best suited for this type of investigations. We have to do the planning, the execution, the deconfliction, but we're looking to prioritize only those places that are really driving our problems so we can focus our resources and have the most impact. That's the best way to, that I see it, that we're going to be able to enforce. But when we do enforce it and hold these people accountable, we don't actually seize the machines under the ordinance. They get, I believe it's a $2,000 fine for every machine. So that's a substantial fine once we do identify the information. But it will be a challenge, I'm not going to lie. It will be a challenge to do the enforcement on a lot of these areas because they're going to know who's from the neighborhood and who's not in the neighborhood coming in trying to do an undercover investigation. But we'll work with our partners. We have state and other partners that we can tap into for resources to help us.
Okay. I'm trying to process this. So you would send the undercover, so to say, to use a machine, and you can't do anything until there's a payout. So you take the slip, and when they take the slip, they have violated the law, and then the undercover would have to report it
Basically, that's
back,
correct,
and
ma'am.
then
That's the purpose. The machine itself is not illegal, it's the payout of
It's
there.
the payout of
So
the machine.
for us, we have to see that or witness it or have some type of video to prove it.
Okay.
And we have a vice team that does that work now, has done that in the past, so it's just building that out to incorporate it into the work that they're doing now. If we have to build out the capacity to meet that demand, then we will.
Okay, and that also includes, what's the other thing we talk about? Liquor by the drink is that the same way that enforcement has happened? Like some of the NAP establishments may have the gambling machines, as well as you can go buy a shot behind the bar.
Yes.
I mean, behind the counter of the beer store or whatever. So that has to be enforced. That's the same level of enforcement for that as well. You have to send someone, they have to make the purchase, identify that it's illegal, and then you guys are able to enforce.
I'm not sure I 100% heard you. Are you talking about other gaming machines?
Well, I'm
they're
talking
illegal.
about with the nuisance task forces
Oh.
as a whole.
Oh, well,
like other violations may occur in some of
Yes.
these establishments.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear
Is
you.
it the same process
It's
across the board? So you could hit somebody for multiple violations related to the nuisance task
Yes.
force.
The nuisance, the way that 94400 was amended, if certain violations occur, we use that as the basis for moving against a license. It can be anything, a combination of, public disorderly conduct, whatever the case may be, as long as there's a nexus to the business, that's called a chronic nuisance. We have 3 of those within a year. Then we send the business a notice of intent to cease, and then they have a responsibility to reach out to us to try to resolve the problem. If they don't resolve the problem within so many days, then we move forward with L&I against the license. With the critical nuisance, if something serious happens, we don't need 3 strikes. We can move at that one incident, and then these individuals need to come out and work with us to come up with an abatement plan. That's why we do the preliminary investigation up front, like I said, and respectfully, the Macy's. Macy's technically fell within the definition of a critical nuisance, but we all know it's not a critical nuisance, but how do I distinguish Macy's from some other store? Okay. So we wanted to make sure we put a light, and actually we met after the Macy's incident to see make sure we be fair and consistent on how we enforce across the city, and that's why we now do the preliminary investigation once that incident happens, and then we're looking to see if there's anything that the business owner is doing or not doing that helped facilitate or cause that type of behavior to happen on their location, and if that's the case, then we're moving forward with an intent to cease.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair Lozada. Who's next? Member Young?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon, gentlemen. Another follow-up question on enforcement. if this bill were to pass and become law, do you feel that this is an enforcement issue for the police or more for licensing and inspection to enforce?
It can be by both. I mean, and that's the important thing about the bill, the way it's drafted. We all have limited resources. When we come together, we can actually work as a team. L&I is part of the nuisance committee with the city. So we work in tandem and making sure that we're using the right resources. So we often, every month, by policy, we'll do what's called, we call it a walk around. I don't know if that's the right word for it, but we'll identify corridors that have nuisance business or properties, and even some that don't in the mixed, and we'll go up and down, and that's where the Inspector Ritchie from our nuisance unit works with L&I, Health, and everybody will go up and down. Basically, it's kind of a warning thing, making sure everybody's on the same page, doing the right thing, but those people that aren't in compliance, it's an opportunity for they can be cited by L&I, Health, and we use that as also for the community sees us out there in whole, as a team working together. So we work hand in hand with L&I all the time, and they're a great partner.
Member Goodyear? Or you? Izana?
So,
Push your button.
how successful are you all in?
Push your button.
I'm sorry. How successful are you all when you go out with L&I and you actually are able to talk to some of these people, right? Because some of the experiences that I have heard is that when the inspector or when the police department go into these establishments, the individual is not able to communicate with you because of a language barrier. How successful are you all in communicating with them? How often have you all found that when you walk into these establishments, they're operating with a grocery store license as opposed to a gaming type of license, if there's even one, right? Because I've asked before, what type of license is an appropriate license for some of these establishments who don't have food, who their food is a cup of soup that you warm up in a microwave, or there are no household products that they're offering, so it's not a real grocery store, it's actually a gaming store, but they're operating out off of a grocery store license, which does not allow them to be open 24 hours a day, right, in an 80% residential neighborhood. How successful are you in addressing those issues when you're going out in the community now?
Well, it's a little double-pronged there. The issue, let me just step back and talk about 94400 and the success we have with that. When the nuisance happens around locations, we have to give a first letter to the business owner informing them that there's a problem. We have been incredibly successful with that first letter going out saying, business owner, you got a problem, you need to fix it, you could lose your license. And that was really the driving factor why we created the tracker, because we were so successful with those first letters, but we had no way to track it. I mean, the only thing we were tracking was the negative outcomes when something had to be ceased. And actually, a lot of businesses were in compliance. A lot of them are either they're not directly owned or they're not operated by the owner, they're operated by agents or managers, and they're not aware of what's going on. So that's been incredibly successful. Now, when you're talking about the businesses that are operating basically as a sham, is what you're talking about. They're using for other purposes. When it comes to the liquor license stuff with the 30 chairs and a requirement for the 30 chairs, that's your whole stop and go issue. They're supposed to have 30 chairs on those locations, and if not, it's a violation of the state law. So we're looking, when we do these walkabouts, that's some of the things we're picking up. We walk in, we gather that information. LCB and the Pennsylvania Liquor Control Enforcement are with us when we do these things. So we work in tandem. Now for for your specific issue of a grocery store is really not a grocery store, we would look into that, and if we got the complaint, we'd look in that one specifically. Because technically, what are they doing wrong if they're just not selling anything? They have the license, but they're not selling anything. We know they're up to something, but what is that? So we would look into that further as a team with the L&I, health department, especially if they have a health license. So we target it, we don't target, it's not an appropriate word, but we identify and look into those cases when we get information from your offices or anybody's office. So if you have a specific location in mind, let me know, and we'll put it on our list and have somebody look into it immediately.
And I just want to emphasize, Fran has obviously been leading that, and he's been the expert. I'm kind of just coming back in this space, but I do want the committee to know that as we move forward, we're going to be much more seeped into this space. We're going to start to get the synergy around this work because we know this is impacting the community, and these are the calls that are coming to your office on a daily basis. And so we know we're going to be working across departmental of all of the agencies to make sure that we're responding. They've done a great job doing that now, but we're really going to elevate this work as we build our new community partnership bureau of our work. That'll nestle under that space where we're going to bring all of that energy together to make sure we're moving effectively to address these issues.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I understand from the testimony that because of the Commonwealth Court ruling that says that these machines are not illegal, we're kind of taking control of our own destiny, and we've developed this system where we would send in these undercover cops and only be able to really enforce when there's a payout. So am I understanding that correctly?
That's correct.
Okay. I think it's good that we're taking charge in that way while we're hoping for an appeal. But I have a question around capacity because it sounds like intense work. So I wanted to ask, how many people do we have in the Vice unit that would be devoted to this type of work? And how many people in neighborhood services would be able to also augment that work, knowing that the neighborhood service officers do a ton of stuff like remove abandoned autos, right, that we also need them to do. So what's our current capacity, and if it's not sufficient, how do we need to grow our capacity to be able to implement this effectively?
Yeah, so that's a great question, Councilwoman. I mean, right now, without getting into the specific staffing issues, we know that we're down in staffing across the board. But my position, as I've taken on this position, we have to be a multi-pronged organization now. There's no longer one officer just doing one thing.
Okay.
Right? And so the way we're going to be addressing these issues, so I'll take you up into the 35th district, and the captain's aide is doing everything, nuisance houses, nuisance corners, all of that. And so we see the path moving forward is not just this entity, Vice Unit is the only one able to do that kind of activity. We're going to have officers who work within those areas to be able to do that work as well. There's nothing precluding them from a policy perspective to do that. And as our staffing has attrited, we're looking at Kevin Bethel may be a three-faceted entity now. He does everything, but not just doing the police work, but he is doing quality of life issues. He or she is doing those other things that we need to get done. I will not allow our staffing issues to be the impediment for us doing the work. We have to get back doing the work of policing and doing the work of the community that they asked us to do. And so we're going to use a multitude of ways to do that. Yes, Vice is a component of that, but they can train other people to do Vice work. And so part of what we're doing now, as we understand that much of the special unit work that we did in special units are now going to be trained into those men and women in the field so they can do those operations as well. You don't have to have neighborhood services most recently to have cars towed out of a neighborhood for abandoned also. They can teach other officers, and they've done that most recently. And so we see there's a vast number of opportunities to train the men and women in the field to do the quality of life and nuisance work as well as doing their 911 response work.
And could this also be something that the civilian officers that we're hiring could do?
I don't know this level of work. I'll let Mike.
Are you referencing the public safety enforcement officers?
Yes.
Yeah, but not.
Thank you.
Yes. They've been a great help. There's some barriers, legal barriers, but for the most part, they're an incredible help for us because what they're doing is we have a very large backlog that we whittled down quite a bit, but those officers are actually going out to help identify those cars, and so they're working with the abandoned vehicle to help get those cars off the street quickly. So
I
they
mean,
are
not
actually
just
having a
cars.
very
I love that we're
yeah.
removing more abandoned autos, but I mean, this bill specifically, can the public safety officers, would they also be able to share in this work to grow our capacity?
I think that probably exceeds the scope of their job.
I would not put them in harm's way. I mean, there's a possibility, just like any time you're taking a policing type interaction, that even something as small as being in a gaming shop, going undercover, doing a undercover could lead to some type of violent episode. So I would at sitting here today without doing a full assessment, I would say I would not put them in that kind of harm's way because of the potential harm that could come to them and they're not armed.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Anyone else?
All right.
On my way in today, stopped at Bryn Mawr and Winfield at a gas station. Went in, paid for my gas. There were 11 machines in full operation. Like, not everybody was at every, there's the photo, there's the photo. And I thought of Atlantic City without a payout for the city. I thought of Atlantic City without an escort for a winner to go to their car. I thought of Atlantic City without knowing what the ratio, if you buy bologna at the Acme, there's weights and measures that come out to make sure that the weight that you're paying for is accurate. We don't do any of that for this industry, and I just think the time has come. I don't want to see an Elliott Ness style approach to this. I like the notifications, the letters, and then the license issue without coming in and we're confiscating this and that. We don't need that. What we need is a firm hand to let them know that this isn't worth it. And that if the industry wants to come into a compliance, then let's figure it out. Let's figure out where they're supposed to be, where they're not supposed to operate. Hours of operation might be included. I was just given that instruction by one of the people to testify today. It's a helpful kind of addition. Member Driscoll wants to make VFWs a safe place for these machines. And I think anywhere, whether the traditional bar and tavern, where you're checking for people's ID anyway, to make sure that they're legally able to drink, is a more secured environment than the kid on their way to school, got their lunch money, and say, I'm gonna get lucky today and put my lunch money in this machine and go hungry the rest of the day. So we need to put our arms around this, and I'm so thankful to have partners in the police force and the task force to assist us in figuring it out. So thank you very much. If there are no other questions for this panel, thank you for your testimony.
Thank you.
Mr. Glass. who do we
Mr.
have
Chairman,
next?
our next witness is State Representative Amon Brown.
Representative, welcome. How are you, sir?
Good, how y'all doing?
State your name for the record, and please begin your testimony.
I am State Representative Amon Brown. I represent the 10th Legislative District of Pennsylvania, which is Logan Square in West Philadelphia. So first and foremost, I want to say thank you guys for addressing this quality of life issue. This is something that my office gets several calls and complaints about. So thank you to all the sponsors. I know we have a lot of issues along 52nd Street, which I share with Councilmember Gautier, and this is a real problem. It hurts me that seniors used to be able to go to their corner store and purchase a loaf of bread or use the ATM machine to pay their rent or so forth and so on. But now, due to these machines, their lives are impacted. And that turns into late rent payments because the closest ATM is not in reach anymore. Because you have several individuals who stand in these stores surveilling what goes on these machines, in ski masks and so forth, just waiting for their next victim. They're waiting for someone to hit. And a lot of the crime that might be being committed is not getting reported because they might be robbing their opposition, as they call them. But all this turns into problems in each and every community in Philadelphia and across the Commonwealth. About a year and a half ago, almost 2 years ago, I met with the Skill Games individuals. I attended a informative session that they had for State House members in Harrisburg. And I listened to everything that they said, but also heard what they didn't say. And they're in it for profit. As you just mentioned, this is not something that is being taxed from the state or the city. And these things came about, I believe, in the beginning of COVID when they hit our city the hardest. And during the height of all the federal or state assistance to our constituents, the money went into the pockets of the owners of these machines. And I get it. For the business owners who are present today, think that who think that these machines are helping you, they're not. They draw in nothing but bad things. And they're taking the little bit that our constituents have, whether it's $75 or $5, they're putting it into this machine and they're losing it. And then they have to come to our offices for assistance because now they're late on their rent or they're being evicted or they have a shut-off notice or their utilities are already being shut off because their last whatever went into this machine and they were hoping that they hit big. And that's not what's happening.
Question. There's a store, 56 and Arch, I guess,
Yes, you have 56 in Arch, 56 in Market.
that is one of the hot spots that I know of where things happen, homicides, robberies. Is there a gambling machine in there?
Absolutely.
I didn't know that, but it doesn't surprise me because it creates a water hole kind of mentality.
Yes.
And could you tell us what's happening at the state level on these machines?
So our governor, Josh Shapiro, he just proposed, he charged the legislature to come up with some kind of agreement and get something done in the State House for the skill games to tax this industry because we currently are not. That's what we're doing right now. And I know there's members on both sides of it. There's those who oppose and there's those who support. And hopefully within the next coming months, we come to some kind of agreement.
One
on
of the
these issues.
things that we wanted to do at this level is to be able to provide that incentive to do something. Because sometimes good ideas bubble up from local to the national. Every now and then, we come up with a good idea. And whether it was evictions, and things like that became a national model. And I think this is not just a Philly problem, it is a Commonwealth problem, and it's a regional problem that needs to be addressed. And we're going to, God willing, be able to at least set some parameters around it. So thank you very much, Representative. Any other questions for him? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony.
Thank you.
Mr. Glass, is that the last panel?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, that was our final
And
panel.
we now have public comment.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Who do we have on public comment?
Our first individual for public comment will be Andy Toy from the PACDC.
Good afternoon, Mr. Toy. Please state your name for the record and begin your testimony.
Sure. I have some written comments, and you should have them. Good afternoon, Chairman Jones, Vice Chair Lozada, and City Council Public Safety Committee members. My name is Andy Toy, and I'm the Policy Director for the Philadelphia Association of Community Development Corporations, better known as PACDC. Thank you for the opportunity to testify before the Public Safety Committee regarding Bill number 240010 that seeks to address the growing problem of completely unregulated games that serve as a means of gambling in commercial corridors across our city, especially in lower-income neighborhoods. What we at PACDC and our members who manage the commercial corridors in the city have been observing is that the proliferation of these machines, whether you call them games of chance or skill, have become an attractive nuisance in many neighborhoods. Of our commercial corridor managers polled, not one supports the allowance of these unregulated devices, and many have cited negative impacts upon their corridors overall. Some places of business only have one, but others have many machines that create a feeling like a mini casino, but totally unregulated. In addition, because of the amounts of cash at these locations and people hanging out for hours, as we've heard, they can become hostile and potentially unsafe places for others in the community. Finally, for some residents in our communities, these games may represent a chance to make money. We know that without the payouts, they are just like regular arcade games, and we don't see people playing arcade games for hours and days on end. Some would call these, quote, games of skill predatory. In the long run, most every player loses or the games wouldn't exist. PACDC supports Bill number 240010 that prohibits these devices unless it's specifically licensed by the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Thank you.
Mr. Toy, how many organizations
I'm sorry?
do you represent?
How many?
And from what part of the city to the other?
How many, or CDC, we have 60 CDCs that we represent, plus 100 associate members as well.
And do they run the breadth of the city of Philadelphia?
Yes,
From the greater northeast?
I'm sorry.
From the greater northeast?
Yes, we have some in the lower northeast part of the city as well,
Through west, north, south Philadelphia?
everywhere, yes.
Everywhere. That's my point.
Yeah.
That this is not a select sampling or one geographic neighborhood with a socioeconomic income level, it's everywhere. And so this is a citywide problem or issue. So any questions?
Just one question.
Member Lozada?
Thank you for your testimony today. You said you represent 60 CDCs. Of those CDCs, have you all started working together to try to figure out where these establishments are along your commercial corridors?
Could you repeat that? How many of them are in commercial corridors? Is that?
No, I'm asking you, have the CDCs that you represent along the various commercial corridors, have you all started to collect the information regarding where these particular establishments are?
So anecdotally, we've been hearing from some of them, and we asked if there are issues. Many of the CDCs do work on commercial corridors across the city. Some of them only do housing, but many of them, or I would say most of them, have a commercial corridor in their district. And we didn't hear anything positive. We know there's some businesses make some money doing it, and our goal would be to make sure that if somebody is struggling, that we could help, that our corridor managers can help them, but not necessarily this way. So if there's a way that we can help without creating a situation that can be a nuisance, then we would try that. And the city's has resources to help as well. We try to link people up to various things like facade improvements and things like that. So those are the kinds of businesses that we want to help, but we feel that this is anecdotally, and if you have enough anecdotes, it becomes data. We haven't put that data together yet, but we believe that there is enough evidence that these are a problem.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, thank you so much for your testimony.
Thank you.
Next public comment.
Mr. Chairman, our next speaker is Felix Santana.
Welcome. Please come to the witness stand. Who's our next?
Andrea Rodriguez.
Ms. Rodriguez, welcome. Thank you for your patience.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. State your name for the record.
Yes, my name is Andrea Rodriguez. I am in business 32 years. I have a crime in 1993. It's not much in the store. I have a lot of robbery before the machine is not in the store. So for me, it don't mean because you have a machine in the store is a lot of robbery. Robbery is all the time in here. That's what I see in 32 years I got in business. So the community, they feel fine, when sometimes they go to play in the store. And I don't see any violence, in my community. For that, I never hear one crime. And that helped a lot to pay bills, and help to the store to a little money extra, help to do something, pay the kids' college, help a lot with something, like you need. So in COVID-19, we are open, 12 hours. A lot of community guys, people go to play to the machine and they feel fine because all the time they be in the house to do nothing. And I don't see any problem with that. Just see like people can get extra money to do something, you know.
Where are you located?
I got a store in 2440 West Norris.
And is that your district? Yes. And how many machines do you have in your store?
Right now we got 4 or 5.
How many? 4 or 5?
I think 4
Okay.
or 5.
And how much do they make a year?
How much we make?
Yes.
And some week we can make an 800. Some week we don't make nothing. You know, some week we can make it 200, 300. It's not a lot like it's a lot of money, you know. That's my experience, you know.
Okay. All right. And you had no problems in and around your store?
No, I never have problem with the neighborhood. And sometimes they say they feel happy because they don't have to go too far to play, you know, and sometimes they say, I have some money to play and it's close to me, it's better, you know, that's what they say.
What's the general demographic age of your
Yes,
people that use those machines?
but I never see kids play machine, you know, I never see that
do
around
you
my
see?
neighborhood.
Who plays?
You know, all age, play. Young, you know, sometimes 30, 40, whatever they know.
Okay. All right. Any questions?
I have a question.
Mr. Young?
Given the location of your store is being very close to a public housing facility, have you seen any increases, not necessarily maybe in robberies, but in drug dealing around your store?
That's everywhere, all the time, you know.
And has the increased foot traffic in your store led to other quality of life issues around your store? Any loitering issues and things like that?
No.
And what's the proximity to your machines, your skills machines, to the ATM in your store?
I don't understand.
Like how many feet away is your skilled machine from your ATM?
Like they take money from the ATM?
Yeah, like how far, what's the distance between your closest machine
It's
to your
close.
ATM?
No, it's close. It's close.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Member Gutierrez?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First, I wanted to thank you for coming to talk to us and for, you know, what I'm sure is a vital service that you're providing to your community through your store. I wanted to ask you, if this legislation were to go through, are there other ways that you can think of that the city can help you know, your business to succeed? And I also wanted to ask you if you had any thoughts around what you wanted to see from the city on public safety more broadly.
I need somebody to tell me in Spanish the question. It's too long. I'm sorry. You know, my English, I learned my English outside. I never go to the school, so you got to do it a little bit short, the question.
Oh, I'm so sorry. First question, if this bill moves through and we make it so, you know, you're not really operating the machines, are there other ways that the city can help your business in terms of the money that you would be losing?
Lord, I got 32 years in business. I never receive any help when I hear any help from the city. I'm sorry, you know.
Thank you for your honesty. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
Thank you. Member Lozada?
Do you know?
Wait a minute, please.
Do you know of other programs that the city has available to be able to provide support to small businesses like yours? Have you ever been approached by someone that is related or that works with a city department to be able to provide you or small businesses like you with programs or resources that could help build your business?
Yes, if the city want to help a little business, it's a lot of way to do it. But we gotta find out, they gotta find out how we can do it, you know.
There are a lot of programs that the city has that can be resourceful to small businesses like yours. And so I think it's important, and one of the things that as a legislative body we need to work on is to better connect small businesses that are not along commercial corridors, that are not managed by some of these CDCs or some of these commerce contracts, to be able to connect small businesses to some of the resources that we have available to help their businesses grow, right? This doesn't have to be the only way, right? But I think that we need to take a different approach at how we connect businesses with business support services that we have available to them. And so, you know, I'd like us to, I will make an effort out of my office to be able to do that, but I think that as a legislative body, we should also be looking at that.
We agree.
Yes, sometimes the city get confused because think a little corner store make a lot of money. So sometimes we have to ask for money for pay something else in the month, you know. When you work legally, any kind of business, and little like that, and you have a lot of things to pay, all the bills and everything's too high. So it's not easy, you know, little business to keep open.
Question, are you a part of a business association?
Yes.
What's the name of it?
What is my name? Andrea.
No, are you a part of an association of collective of businesses?
Oh, I'm... Associación, yeah, the Associación de Bodegueros. Grocery Association, Grocery Store Association.
She's a part of the grocers, the Philadelphia Grocers Association.
I'd love to take you up, Member Lozada, to meet with them, to talk about their particular needs, to bring the Commerce Department with us, to see how we can help. We would do that.
Nosotros nos comprometemos a hacer un mejor trabajo en colaboración con la Asociación de los Bodegueros para poder traerle a ustedes los recursos que hay disponibles a través de la ciudad, porque hay muchos recursos disponibles que a veces, si no son parte de un corredor, ustedes no se aprovechan, ¿no? Entonces yo conozco muy bien a mi amiga Enerolina, que la vi por ahí, no la veo ahora, pero yo sé que ella se reúne con muchos de los negociantes en nuestra ciudad, pero no hacemos un buen trabajo en conectarlos a ustedes, a los recursos que hay disponibles en la ciudad.
Yes, because a lot of grocery store owner, we don't know, I don't even know if they got any help or not, you know.
She said that she don't know about it.
I look forward to starting that dialogue about storefront rebates, sign rebates, microloans, things that we can do. So we're not always taking away, we're giving too.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Thank you for your testimony. Mr. Glass.
Mr. Chairman, our next speaker is Ari Marchant.
Thank you for your patience, sir. Are you here?
Coming up.
Have a seat, state your name for the record, and please begin your testimony.
My name is Ari Marchand. I have a little company called Extreme Skill Game. We do some business in Philadelphia, registered in Pennsylvania, paying taxes in Philadelphia, having insurance, workman's comp, and doing everything by the books. I hope that the panel in front of me has an open mind. I'm not so sure that you have an open mind, but I would love to believe that you have an open mind. The truth is we have a patient, the skill game, which is sick. The patient is sick. There is a very easy way to get the patient healthy and productive. The easiest way is just to kill it. Just to kill it, and you don't have to administrate anything and so forth. Right now, Philadelphia is known around the country as the Wild West of the skill game. It's absolutely atrocity what's happening in Philadelphia. And I have a list of suggestions how to solve it. Part of my solution is to generate between $2 to $3 million a month to the city. And can be done as long as everything is done under law and order. So I would like to bring few things in no particular order. I heard one of you gentlemen calling it disrespect, that those machines are disrespect for the city. Well, what about ATM? What about Kensington and Allegheny? And I can give you really a disrespect places for the city. What is to do with the machine? The machine, if they're administrated right, can be very, very useful. You see those ladies and gentlemen here. Do you know how many hours they work? These people are from 6 o'clock in the morning going to the market or whatever it is in order to make just a living. And those machines support it, help them. Without those games, they will have to lay off people. So I would like to bring a few things at no particular order. And by the way, as far as disrespect, there are plenty of states like Georgia, Iowa, that already have those statewide confirmed and approved. And I don't think it's fair to call the state of Georgia disrespectful because they passed a law on something that I truly believe that you don't really understand completely the nature of this business. And by the way, I'll be happy to be part of a committee at $1 a year salary and to help the city to establish a plan that will help the local merchant as well as the city and to put some order in this mess. Yes, there are places that have 15 machines. What happened to a place when at 12 o'clock, 11 o'clock, somebody hit the jackpot and he win $3,000 or $4,000 and the local store do not have the money. They don't keep this money. In our company, on every game, there is our name and number. We ask them to call, and we'll tell them somebody will come and upfront the store the money. Because those people getting irritated sometimes, and yes, it can be nasty. So there is a solution, and when we talk to them and we explain to them, keep the ticket, it's like with the lottery, they calm down, they don't make any mess, and we take care of it. Our suggestion is to have, as some other city has, to levy a fee per machine, annual, something like $400 per machine annually, paid upfront per year. And you provide us with a sticker, one of the stickers that will be difficult to copy, to forge, because in this business, plenty of people will try to forge it, and to have it per machine, and to limit up to 5 machines per store. And every store that has machine without the sticker, fine the store $1,000 a day. $1,000 a day. It will clean up. Furthermore, license the provider or the distributor to do so by qualifying them, because we have now people that somehow came from out of state, and they put machines, they don't fix them, they don't support them, and cause them a lot of problems. Yes, they give them higher commission, but it caused a mess. And by having a program whereby those machines will be quote-unquote licensed, first you will know who has it, because right now nobody, including myself, nobody has clue how many machines are there. Because it's not just in the bodega, it's in a barber shop, you know, you'll name it. They're everywhere. This way we can control it. And as far as security, let me tell you about security. A few years ago, somebody broke into one of our machines and he dropped his license plate into the machine. So we picked up the machine, we found the license plate. I took the license plate, I wrote a letter, I went to the detective, to the police, and guess what? Nothing happened. We gave them license plate, the guy who broke the machine. We gave them many times videos showing clear face. We had many times store owner calling the police, and I hope the new chief of the police will take care of it. Because it's known in Philadelphia that if you call the police about something in the machine, you have 45 minutes before they'll show up. 45 minutes. And I have some friends in the police station, in the police force, that confirm to me because they don't want to get involved because of many other things, you know. So it's easy to eliminate a lot of the headaches. We, by the way, had a few years ago some of the machine picked up. And I have here citation, criminal and everything. We went to court. Guess what? As they said to me from the depot, from the police depot, we are one of the few companies that walked out with checks. They gave us all the money back, they gave us the machine and everything. We were ready. We had expert, we have everything. Something else what we do, when somebody breaks into the machine, we put a wanted poster. This is $5,000. Guess what? The mother of this guy, of this crook, the mother called us. And by the way, I have many more stuff that I'll be happy to provide you later on in orderly way. As said to you, there are different numbers around about how many machines are there. I don't know, 50,000, 100,000, it's a lot. And
I'm sorry, could you repeat that number?
50,000 plus. 50,000 plus. 50,000 is on the low end. And again, you will ask different people, they all have different numbers. Nobody really knows. But when you go to places that have 15 of those machines, you know, that's... we, by the way, any place, we tell them, 5 machines, we don't want it, you know. But we're trying to do the right thing. But it's not always easy because sometimes somebody from out of town will come to a store and say, listen, I'll give you $10,000 advance per machine. $10,000 advance machine. Get everybody else out, and the poor store owner, for them, $20,000, $30,000, you know, it's a lot of money, so we understand. So it is a total Wild West. Anyhow, this is basically my concern is that the location here, the store owners, they depend on this income. And by cutting it down, by slashing it, by eliminate those machines, they will have to lay off people. and they do not lay off people like me. I'm all right. They lay those people who need the work, who need the money. And they're all from Philadelphia. And as far as horror stories about machines or whatever, I can give you a lot of horror stories about the city of Philadelphia, what's happening. Those machines are not the reason. It's an excuse for you guys to say, okay, you think we'll solve it. If you will convince me that by taking those machines out, the crime rate will drop down by 50%, I'll be the first one say, praise the Lord, let's do it. But you and I, we know that's not the issue. And hopefully, again, the new commissioner, unlike the previous commissioner that I saw several times on TV, and I'm not going to be very popular, saying, oh, please, we have to work together. We cannot continue. We cannot this one here. And in the meantime, they're not backing up the police. And I feel terrible to be a policeman. You must be out of your mind to be a policeman in Philadelphia. So we support them as much as we can. So this basically what I had to say. If anybody has any question, and again, this was done without big or long preparation. And I think that, I say to you, the patient is sick. It's relatively easy to fix it, but we need your guidance. You need your open mind to work together to something that can help the local stores and to put law and order and to put some additional money in City Hall. Thank you. Any question, I'll be happy to try to answer.
Before I yield the mic to my colleague, Member Brooks, I want to thank you for coming in and testifying, because I like candor, I like straightforward talk, because through that we get better understanding. If I don't know where you stand, you don't know where I stand, we can't be clear on the public policy. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Real quick, have you ever met with the state to talk about these regulations and problems?
Sorry, you what?
The Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, the people in Harrisburg, have you ever met with them?
Not directly. We met indirectly with because the VGT, it's a different level of gambling, or the state are talking about the VGT. The VGT will be rewarded to only the few location, whether it's liquor stores or something. They are not, and again, the requirements are difficult, but they are not going to solve the problem, and they're definitely not going to support the merchant, the average merchant, because for the VGT, you need to have certain condition, whether liquor license or certain size of stores, metric, in order to be able to eligible to have 5 of them. Yes, I wish everything could be done. You can have, you know, if the city wants to have it percentage, it's fine. It's a lot of work. And it's easier for the city to have, listen, here's a sticker, you pay us, because remember, sometimes those machines end up the months in negative. It's not always positive. There is months that they have negative. So I think that the sticker will be easy way. It will be easy way for you to control. You know exactly who has it, and we will help you with it. And
So I'm going to hold you to that. You will provide us with those suggestions, and we will take them earnestly under consideration. I'm going to yield the mic to Member Brooks.
Thank you. I just have a question for clarity. You mentioned commission. Is the commission received per machine, or is a commission for hosting a machine in the store? And what's the average? I didn't understand.
Okay.
Because,
to simplify the process that they're doing in some other cities, you issue a sticker per game. In other words, if they have 5 games, 5 stickers. Those stickers are valid for 1 year. You don't really care if the machine breaks down and we have to replace the machine, as long as the sticker is valid for this specific period. This way you know if you have 400 and whoever it is, they buy it in advance. Those stickers, they pay you the annual amount and they renew. And of course, the carrot and the stick. You have to have a major fine to the stores. They do not have it, and you have to find the store. And probably the store owner here would not like me to hear it. Don't do it to the distributors. They don't give it them, you know, in a sense. But the store owner, they'll know it. If it will be a heavy fine per day, they'll make sure that they will get somebody licensed to install the machine and to handle it properly. And again, to do it in such a way that not anybody that got sort of shady money, and a lot of shady money, and has 100 machines and comes into the stores and says, whatever you need, here it is, whatever it is, those are breaking down and they cannot reach them. They hit the jackpot, they cannot pay it. Those are the problem. You have plenty of companies, legitimate companies, that will be able to stand behind it and to do proper services. I said to you, we have our number, because even if a customer's claim that he hit the jackpot and he doesn't know and the machine cheated him and all this stuff, and we heard all the stories, somebody will answer him and professionally telling him the stories. And we never, ever had any issue with the police or anything about issues about the machines. Yes, we had in the past broken machines, but I addressed it before.
Thank you so much, Mr. Marchant, for that. But I was just wondering, like, how much is the commission? Like, what is the percentage of the commission per machine? Thank you. That's the legal ones are 40%.
Yes.
The illegal ones, what's the commission?
But whoever mentioned it,
So, in order for him, listen, hold on. In order for the recorder to understand what's being said, he has to say-
I dispute it.
You dispute
I wish he was right. That was 3-4 years ago. There are people from New York coming up giving 70, 75, 80%, which hurt everybody. So by regulating it, we can stop it and make sure that everything is fair. But you have, and we can give you a list of places they're getting way. Pennsylvania Skill, good for them. I wish that everybody will be like this. But even within Pennsylvania Skill, they have some crooked operators that are giving a lot more under the table. And I can provide them the names if they want to.
Thank you so much.
So we're going with Member Gordier and then Member Harity. This is getting interesting.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you so much for your testimony and your recommendations.
Okay.
I wanted to clarify, like, we are not talking about a regulation of the use of these machines in totality. We are talking about regulating the use of these machines in spaces that don't sell alcohol or have less than 30 seats if they do sell alcohol, or anywhere that is unlicensed currently under the State Gaming Act. So given those boundaries, what percentage of your business in the city of Philadelphia does that represent?
If I understood your question correctly, in our case, we have in Philadelphia maybe only 3 or 4 locations. Most of our business is outside Philadelphia. 3 or 4 locations that serve liquor. But most of our business are the regular bodegas. They don't serve liquor, and they most likely serve food, but not liquor.
Sorry, in the city of Philadelphia, you're saying you have 3 establishments that sell liquor, so like bars.
Yes.
So do you understand? I just want to be very clear about what we're talking about.
And by the way, I would like to address it for a second, please.
Okay.
We had more. And there is a Chinese gangster that sent the people to our location owned by Chinese, only owned by Chinese.
Okay, we should be, we should be careful in our language.
No, I have all the
terminology.
proof.
Yeah.
And I have a meeting finally with a detective. I talked to the district attorney. What he does is send people with sharp object and they just break the screen. And the screen is the most expensive part of this machine. So we are not expending it and they're afraid of it. We know where it is. So
The gangsters come in all flavors, so I just want to, want us to be clear.
Okay.
But, you're saying that within the city, you only have 3 establishments that are bars, so this bill wouldn't impact you that much. Am I understanding that correctly, or am I misunderstanding?
No, we have more, many more. But only 3 or 4 of them serve liquor.
Oh, how many do you have in the city that don't
In
meet
the
those
city,
qualifications?
probably 30, 40.
Okay.
We are relatively small in the city, and we have them, many of them, we're operating for 5, 6 years, and many of them moved to some of the new operators, and they switch back to us because they realize that sometimes the amount of commission is not everything.
Okay. And then lastly, you talked about your workers. Can you expound on how many workers and contractors you have in totality and how many of them live in the city of Philadelphia?
How many workers we have?
Yes, and how many live in the city?
Well, we lost one last week, my wife.
Oh, I'm very sorry.
I'm sorry, but we
Very
have
sorry for that.
6.
Yeah, I'm sorry for that. I didn't realize.
No, I understand.
Thank you for being here, even with that tragedy. And thank you for testifying with us in a pretty honest way.
Thank you, member.
Okay.
Thank you, member, and thank you. I echo her concerns. For you to be here today shows your character, and we appreciate your testimony.
Thank you.
Member Harity.
Thank you
Yes.
very much.
Again, just a
Yes.
couple more minutes. Thank you again for actually coming with some ideas of how things work. Just for a point of clarification, you said that some of these bad actors are coming in and they will upfront up to $10,000 per machine, so 5 machines, that's $50,000, which then they would not make any money on the machine until after it clears that $50,000. Is that correct on how it would go?
No, eventually they'll make it back. It will take time. In other words,
It'll take a lot of time, yeah.
it's not a gift, but it's sort of a long-term loan that eventually will, it's a
Yeah,
matter of time.
they're going to collect on it per week or whatever they come in
Yeah.
to collect their money. And then the place will not receive any other money until after that $50,000 debt is, sir? No? They will.
Yeah.
It's just a shorter percentage.
Well, we can't get that on record. You're signed
Oh,
up?
you're signed up to, okay,
Give us a
good.
minute.
All right, well then I'm good. I'll wait till you come up and I can ask you the same questions. But I appreciate you, sir, coming in here today and actually having some constructive criticism and actually giving us some real information that we can actually use and some good ideas. So thank you.
Thank you, and sorry
Thank
for
you
your
very
loss,
much.
sir.
I have a question,
Thank you for your,
Councilman.
well,
Oh, Jeffrey. Sorry, Jeffrey.
Just one question. So what skills are needed to play these games?
What skill?
it's a lawyer. He's a lawyer.
It's a very complex question. Basically, the game, it's unlike slot machine in the casino. You put the quarter or the dollars and you wait. You win or you don't win. Here you have to do something. You have to touch something. You have to move it up. You have to move it down. You have to select to do something. You don't have to have a PhD for this, but you have physically to do something in order to win the game. To have a chance to win the game. And I suggest to you guys to walk to one of the stores, ask the store owner to show them, to see, to talk to some of the people. And by the way, for the stores, when they play the game, they buy some drink, they done some sandwiches, they buy something else, you know, because if they stay there for 1 hour or something. And as far as, one more thing, as far as the Pennsylvania lottery, they sort of concerned about it. It proved in Iowa, in West Virginia, in Georgia, that those machines that have the slot machine and the lottery numbers went up, not down, went up. And there is clear numbers available on those figures.
Yeah, thank you. So that kind of alluded to my my next question. You know, you talked about how someone plays these games. So I live in a neighborhood where these games are on every corner in every store, right? I live in North Philadelphia, not, you know, not the nice part, right? So where Ms. Rodriguez talked about, I grew up going to her store. I grew up in Johnson Homes, right? So I grew up going to her store every weekend for my grandma. So go to that store, go to another store on, you know, Taney and Ridge. I go down a block, you know, it's a gas station that has like 7 or 8 of these machines sitting in there. So I see these machines at every single store I go to in my community.
Yeah.
And every time I go to a store in my community, I see someone playing these games. And they are in there for hours playing these games, right? And so what, from a community perspective, which we all represent voters, we all represent communities, so from a community perspective, like when we are trying to regulate a quality of life issue, right? Because I've been in these stores where I've seen people physically, you can tell they're high on whatever drugs they're high on at these machines for hours, dipped off, sleep, nodded, whatever. How can we, right, as a body, as a body who is charged with legislating for the public safety and public welfare of a city, how can we regulate that? Because that's what I see when I go into stores in my community. People standing at these machines for hours on end, high off whatever they're high off of, and my son has to see that when he goes to the store with me. Why is that okay to see in our communities, in my community? Why is that okay?
First, I did not say it's okay. Secondly, I think the biggest culprit here, the lottery, Pennsylvania lottery, you're bombarded with ads all the time, scratches and everything. And if you go to the stores and see a line of people standing sometimes twice a day to get it, then you see every FanDuel and every application on the phone.
But that's true, but those are not in. So when I go to a store to play the lottery for my mom, I'm in and out in 5 minutes, right? We're in and out with the lottery. The phone on my game is here on my phone. I'm not interacting with anybody but my phone. When I'm inside of one of these establishments, when I walk in, it's no longer just a me problem, right? It's a community issue. So that's I guess the question I'm trying to get at. I understand the lottery. The lottery is what it is. Folks are in and out there. They're not in the store for hours on end playing the lottery.
I understand.
Okay.
First, you have to remember that many of them play on a quarter. Secondly, there is probably a mechanical way to do it, which will be too expensive, and then they'll move to another machine or whatever. I understand your issue, I understand your concern. I don't have an answer for it.
But
and
if I could, you promised to work with us and watch what you wish for. So we would love to hear those suggestions and take them into the regulation phase, the enforcement phase, so that we hear and add that intelligence, if we could.
Well, as I offered, I would love to help you to set it up.
Appreciate it.
And to help the city as well as the merchant.
Understood. Mr. Young, yes, Member Lozada?
I appreciate all of the recommendations and all of the suggestions that you made today. It's not often that we are able to get or present problems and people come back with solutions. That doesn't happen all the time, so thank you so much for your testimony today. But just following up on Councilmember Young's question, very simply, how do you recommend that some of these establishments control the loitering, control how long a person can stay in their establishment interacting with one of these games? What's your recommendation?
The only way to do it is, you see, the store owners, they know the players.
And we know
maybe
based
to
on
have
testimony.
to have a sticker that it's limited for 1 hour or whatever. I don't have any concrete.
But we would assume, right, based on today's testimony, that the business owner depends on these people continuing to come in and continuing to play. So the business owner is not going to do that. The business owner is not going to want us to regulate time. The business owner is not going to want to ask them to leave, because as long as he's there and he's interacting with the machine, he's going to continue to put money in there, right?
I have a
And so
solution.
I think that what we should try to figure out together is, how do we prevent the establishment or the individual who continues to come in for hours on end, how do we prevent them from becoming a nuisance business? Because this is what happens in a lot of cases, in a lot of different parts of the city. These machines pop up, they automatically attract more negative business. And we're not saying, I don't think that any of the members of this committee are saying that this is the sole reason why negative or nuisance businesses pop up in certain neighborhoods. We're saying that this contributes to it. And so if together we figure out, how do we minimize or eliminate a business becoming a nuisance in the community, then we would all live in much happier, safer neighborhoods.
I
and
agree
we would
with
all
you.
be better neighbors.
So what about the casino? How they do it?
I think that you can't compare a casino to a local bodega or a local grocery store or a local supermarket or shopping establishment. They're not the same. And so we shouldn't try to act like they are. These are very small establishments in 80% or more residential neighborhoods that sometimes attract nuisance activity, and it interferes with quality of life. And I think that's the conversations we need to have, right? Let's be very honest. We're not saying that this is the only thing that attracts it. We're saying it contributes to it. And so let us work together. Again, I'm grateful for you having come in, right? But I want us to be very honest about what the conversation is and how we need to move forward, and how we're looking as a committee, how we're looking to partner with people like yourself and other businesses in our communities that depend on this in order to keep your businesses supplemented in a different way.
I
Mr.
don't have
Chair.
a concrete answer, but I said the casinos, when you sit in the casino in the slot machine, I agree with you, most of the time it's not the same crowd, but I know from a past experience that people in the casino lost everything, and nobody that was there to say, hey, stop. We all have to take some personal responsibility. We're not living in a perfect world. And you're right, the store owner, they don't have time, they don't have patience to watch it, to see what it is. Physically, the machine cannot limit you. There is not, as I said to you, there's a way to build a device, but it will make it too expensive, and then they'll move to another store, So somebody can move from one store to another store.
We also have to be conscious that if we expect the business owner to be the person to say to an individual, it's time for you to leave, we expose that business owner to compromising their safety, right? So we have to be very careful about, putting it on the business owner. We need to come up with a different kind of solution, but it can't be all on the business owner, right? They have to take responsibility, but there has to be a better way to be able to get folks
But you see,
out of these establishments or get the machines out of these establishments. We have to,
but
there
the
has to be a way.
player, might start with one game in the store and then move to another one. So you might be 20 minutes here and 20 minutes there. So it's not necessarily, there are some, they have their machine and that's it. That's it, you know, they play this, but the vast majority will hop around and play different machines. So they can have 20 minutes here, 20 minutes here, 20, you know. So I don't really have the solution, but I understand what you're saying. You know, it is a concern. And the other thing is when you're in the store playing the machine, you are not outside on the street doing some worse things.
So we're going to stop the testimony on that, the worst thing scaring me. But thank you. Thank you for your testimony, and we really sincerely appreciate those comments.
You can be in touch with anytime. I'll be happy to help you, to supply you whatever documentation I have. And you'll hear the truth from me, whether you like it or whether you don't like it. I'm not a politician. So if I offended anybody, I do apologize. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you so much. Good questions, guys, good questions. Mr. Glass, who do we have next?
Mr. Chairman, our next witness is Anthony Giabrone, and the rest of our public commenters who the Sergeant at Arms will bring up and sit in the seats along the rail is Akash Patel, Live Casino, William Beck, Tang Jam, and Brian Castillo.
Thank you for your patience, guys. Please come in. Yeah. Please come in. And will two of you come up to the mics? And state your name for the record, and please begin your testimony.
How are you, council members? My name is Akash Patel, born and raised Philadelphia. I'm from, I believe, Mr. Jones's district, Roxborough. Yes. Yeah, my folks started in 1990. I was born in 92. We've been running a business in Roxborough since 1998. And yeah, I just kind of wanted to come in and give my 2 cents on, like, you know, the impact that your legislation would have on families like my own, you know. And as you all know, it's not easy running a business anywhere in, you know, the country, really, you know, to be an entrepreneur. But especially in, like, the city limits, it's, you know, it's a little bit more, you know, taxing, literally and figuratively. You know, with the recent years, everything from, like, the soda tax, you know, to COVID lockdowns and everything, regulations, and on top of that, you know, the cigarette tax and everything. And being in Roxborough, that puts us at especially a disadvantaged position because, you know, being so close to suburbs. So, you know, what my folks did since like 98 to now, put me through Roman Catholic, Community College in Philadelphia. That's kind of like a fleeting, you know what I mean, like a dream at this point because it's just so difficult, you know what I mean, to run a business, you know, in this world, really. So again, I think it's really important that we're here today. I think this is long overdue, but I think something that we've kind of touched on is we sorely need regulation in these machines. To outright say to ban them, I think is pretty disrespectful and callous. I think you're ignoring a large part of your voter base. Every face that's here right now represents a family. I don't know if you realize that, but you should. You know, it's pretty important. I also want to echo what Ms. Rodriguez was saying back there. I don't know if you heard or understood, but she said robberies and violence were there after the machines, and they were there before the machines too. The police weren't doing anything. I also want to echo what Mr. Ari was saying. He had a robbery. The guy dropped his license, he said. We had a robbery at my location about 2 years ago. The robber left a bag with his first and last name. The police detective never reached out to us. Do you understand what I'm trying to say here? It seems as if, and with all due respect, I don't want to sound ungrateful. I completely believe in the police. You know, I thank them. But it seems like they're really, you know, for a lack of policing, they're making, you know what I mean? They're punishing businesses that are doing their job, you know? And I was telling Mr. Curtis, come out to, you know, where we run our place, if we care about our community, and if put that into account, you can run these locations where it's, you know, safe for all. You know, there can be wholesome places if done properly. That's why I was saying I think regulation is sorely needed. But to blanket ban them, I think is callous and disrespectful to, again, every face here represents a family, you know, and I think that's worth thinking about. If you have any questions, please, I'd love to, you know.
Do we have any questions?
I do.
Mr. Chair. So should we as a city allow people to shoot dice outside of your business establishment?
That's not what I said. Absolutely not. That'd be very dangerous, you know? But in a state that allows, you know, that's, I think nobody, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
But, you know, state lottery is a thing, you know, like it's, that's what, when you're asking, you know, how do we limit somebody? Well, you don't know if my income is $50,000 a year or $150,000 a year. You can't do that really, right? This is America. I have the choice to really ruin my life if I want to. There's a sign behind every single bar in this nation. You know what it says? If you're pregnant and you get a drink, your kid's gonna be messed up. What will you be having tonight? So you really can't regulate what somebody, you know what I mean? Like we can't get them, we're not the moral police here, are we?
And,
right?
and I get that. That's, my point is about essentially the loitering that happens in these communities where these machines are
Absolutely.
located.
And to echo Mr. Rodriguez and Mr. Ari, the police aren't doing their job. If by show of hands, ask these people here how many times they've called the police for nuisance and the police have left their establishment without doing a goddamn thing, excuse my language. That's the real issue there. We call the cops, they don't do anything. So what are we supposed to do about that? Why are you punishing honest, working, tax-paying constituents for the inability to police?
Have you ever called the police for people loitering in your store playing these machines?
Not playing the machines.
Okay,
Yeah, I have.
thank you.
But isn't it important that the police don't do anything? Isn't it their job? If I'm asking for assistance, right? But hey, man, I need this guy to leave. He's not playing machine. He's just hanging out. He won't leave. He's whatever the hell it is. And we live in Roxborough, and we're blessed that it's a smaller district, so our police presence is a little bit higher.
They have a great councilman.
But I'm just saying though, you know what I mean? We're blessed. And so we have our nuisance rate is much lower, but again, that's because we have a higher police rate. All these places that have a, you know what I mean, a lot more nuisance, ask them how many times the cops are patrolling their neighborhoods. This is a policing issue, a regulation issue.
And so one thing that we're, as a body, what we're trying to do is trying to, again, curb those issues. We're not the police, right? So we're not, we can't go to your establishment and remove these folks. But
We're
we
not
have the
asking you guys,
authority
that's
to
what
do.
we call 911.
Again, and when we have the authority to, if you're telling us this, we can now take this. You saw the police commissioner here, right? Right. So
I wish you would have stuck around to hear this, honestly.
He's heard these issues that we have been saying, and so that as a body, we can work with the police on the policing models in our communities, because I have an issue with that too.
Absolutely.
Like not just in these particular
absolutely.
stores, but in our entire communities. But again, as we are charged with trying to regulate the public safety and public welfare of a community, right? How can we do that in an efficient manner without, I guess, without harming your business?
Yes,
right?
I also want to we both agree that we care about the community. This can bring adverse and negative effects into the community if not done responsibly, and that's why I think regulations are sorely needed, desperately needed. And just a blanket ban, again, it's just not the answer. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, and I can tell you that being in my community, right, the stores that I've gone to, has not done responsibly at all.
But why should I be punished for that, though? Is that fair?
And you know
Should
what?
I be punished for that?
Throughout all industries, every industry, whether you're a landlord, whether you're a tenant, everyone is always punished for the bad actors in that industry.
I disagree with that. You may that's your opinion. I disagree with that, and that's what I was saying with the other thing. They don't even have data. If you have data on the nuisance spots, why don't you crack down on those places? Again, come out to my establishment. I would love for you to come out. I'll give you $20 each. Put it in the machine. Have a good time. See what kind of environment is there. See what kind of environment we can breed if done responsibly. If those places aren't doing it, then those LNIs need to be pulled. They need to be punished. But
I can tell you, being an attorney and representing small businesses, my clients, right, for the most part, are small businesses. They have told me time and time again that the good actors are always punished for the bad actors. That's how legislation is made, to be quite honest, right? Because when someone bad comes, and someone has an epiphany or someone has an experience with a bad actor, they come to us to regulate that, right? Although the entire industry, and everyone may not be bad actors, but the bad actions that happen kind of usurp everything.
I'll say it again, and that coming from you is very callous and disrespectful to every single face here. That represents a family, it represents a voting base, tax dollars that were honest working, hard-working people that you're talking about affecting. I don't think you realize that, but
I'm not
that's
saying
fine.
that they are bad. Everyone is a bad actor.
So you're telling me to accept it. You're telling me to accept the fact that the actions of a few will impact the all. Sorry.
No, please continue. The actions of a few impact the all. It happens in many industries
I don't
in
accept
the city.
that. That's my opinion. I don't accept that.
You don't accept it, but that's how things happen.
That's not right. That's not right.
Many,
so you're telling me that everybody follows the rules, but the actions of a few, we're all going to be punished now. That's so wrong. And that's fine. I can feel that way. It's a free country. And our votes will dictate that. I disagree with you, sir.
All right. It's okay to disagree. We're doing
Absolutely,
it.
but I would love for you to come to my community, right?
will.
And we can walk down the stores and we can see what happens in these stores.
Mr. Johnson, I absolutely will.
Okay. That's duly noted. We'll make the arrangements. I'll go with you.
Absolutely.
But we want to thank you for your testimony. Are there any other questions? But we got the point you were making.
Thank
All
you.
right? With that, Anthony Glass, who do we have next?
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, our next speaker will be Live Casino.
Who's next, sir? Repeat that.
Live Casino, Mr. Chairman.
Does Live Casino have a name?
Yes. Yes, sir, right here.
Okay.
Good
State
evening.
your name for the record, please.
Certainly. My name's Thomas Deal, D-I-E-H-L. I'm the Vice President of Legal at Live Casino and Hotel Philadelphia. And I'm a prior state gaming regulator from the... Certainly. Thank you, friend. I'm a prior gaming regulator from the Pennsylvania Gaming Control Board. I simply wanted to read a brief statement and certainly be available for any questions you may have afterwards. And I'm going to cheat with my specs here. I'm here to testify on behalf of Live Casino, Philadelphia, in opposition to Bill 240010 that's before us today. It was only a year ago that the City Council passed legislation to ban purported skill games that are proliferating across the city and the Commonwealth. But now through this bill, the council would be authorizing potentially 6,000 new devices throughout the city. More devices, by the way, than both Philadelphia city casinos combined. This bill does not establish a regulatory oversight or taxing authority, and will undoubtedly lead to problems that should be resolved in advance. On top of that, I purport that the timing is imprudent. Now, when the bill appears to be inconsistent with current cases awaiting a decision from the Pennsylvania Supreme Court, in which the city has intervened and is due to file a brief. Additionally, the governor's recent comments directing the legislature to adopt legislation to tax and regulate these machines through the Pennsylvania Gaming Control Board has created momentum to address this issue on the Commonwealth level. So why would we adopt rules today that would expect to be preempted soon by the state? It would appear the city would be wise to wait and see how those two major factors play out before taking any steps to affirmatively allow these purported skill games within the city limits. When the Commonwealth legalized casino gaming years ago, it set up a rigorous process to establish a framework for licensure, taxation, and regulation. And we are confident that we'll do so again regarding any legislature concerning the devices that are issued today. This thorough framework is necessary to protect the integrity of operations and the welfare of your constituents. In our opinion, this bill does not establish an adequate regulatory structure, and that the city currently does not have the infrastructure to enforce or regulate potentially 6,000 games as it may be proposed by this bill. Further, to go ahead of legislation that is forthcoming from a Supreme Court decision is just simply not a good idea. We stand ready to work with the Philadelphia's delegation, along with other legislative leadership in the governor's office, to work through the policy decisions necessary to properly tax and regulate these games in future parity with the casinos, gaming regulations, and taxes. That's the end of my statement.
Thank you. Yep. Oh, give me a second.
Thank you.
So I understand, if I heard you correctly, that one of your problems is that this legislation will create 6,000 opportunities to do gambling, correct?
Potentially, yes.
as opposed to banning them totally. Duly noted. And then the second part of it is that we should wait to allow our partners at the state level to figure it out for us downstream, correct?
No, I don't think so. I don't think that's the case. I think there are means for the city council to address some of these issues. The same questions I've heard you raise during this meeting regarding enforcement, regarding how the revenue and the machines will be distributed. These are all valid questions. But the bill that's before us today doesn't address those. My only recommendation is that you would get answers to those questions that you're asking, and I think appropriately so. Reduce those answers into a written framework, regulatory framework, including taxation, before you move ahead.
Well, duly noted what you said. Thank you for your testimony. But I believe the opening of these types of opportunities for skills games happened in 2017.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
We've been waiting and waiting and waiting for help from up at the state that we have not received. As they pontificated and figured it out and all of that good stuff, 50,000 machines have found their way into our neighborhoods. So you say that thank goodness that the governor is riding to our rescue. I would argue that chicken came before the egg, that when we introduced this, he decided that Philadelphia is serious about this regulations and not to be dumped upon in this manner. So it's not going to be perfect. Please give us some suggestions on how to amend it. We want to work with you, we want to work with people who have testified, but we want to keep it moving. We are not going to sit back another year where people get killed, where people are hunted. We're not doing that. I don't know where you live, but I don't live far from these machines. And I'm saying to you that if not now, when? Say it again, Marion?
Oh, I'm a half a block from more than that, yeah.
So we appreciate how you operate. You went through the process, you went through the regulations, you have security, you have good lighting, you have a payout process. We respect all of that. You employ thousands of people. So we value what you're saying to us. But if we don't help ourselves, we're not sure that after another 7 years, we'll even have, that legislative body is divided up there. It's hard to get laws to pass. And if we sit back on our laurels, on our heels, and do nothing, we can expect more of the same of what we've had in our neighborhoods. Now, there are a lot of good people that operate correctly. And unfortunately, this is spilling over on them. The willingness for all of us to listen to what they have to say and figure this out is earnest. But we ain't playing. So I have a mayor that promised cleaner, greener, and safer. Cleaner, greener, and safer. And this is the part of the safety part. So we're going to continue. Hopefully you will provide us some assistance in figuring this out. We welcome your ideas, but if we sit back and wait, how long?
Again, I appreciate and respect everything you said, sir, and all the questions that have been raised. And my only response, I agree that you have a tremendous responsibility ahead of you with respect to public safety. I agree it's not easy. I just simply would submit it's something that I would put the framework in place first, both for regulation and taxation, before moving forward with the bill.
So God willing, we will motivate our friends at the state level to do just that. And if I woke up one day and we are superseded by state regulations that tell us where these machines are, it'll be a good day for me. So, but let me say this. If we don't do for ourselves, We can't expect others to do for us.
I don't disagree with that, sir.
Thank you so
But I would submit that doing for yourself would include setting up a regulatory framework in advance. I'm not asking you to wait for somebody else to do it for you, and we would lend our assistance, and as would others, in any way that we can. But nevertheless, I would do that part first before legalizing games.
So I appreciate your comments, duly noted. But let me say this. We've been doing this legislation for at least 2 years now, and it's the first time I met you. Member Lozada? I got you.
For 2 years, the fact that we've been having this conversation for 2 years is a problem. I don't know if you know, but I learned from the chairman here last week that there were 15, 18 bills related to gaming machines at the state level. 15 to 18 bills related to this same topic at the state level. That is a problem. And so it is through conversations like this that we create the framework. It is through public testimony, it is through conversations with our residents that we are able to create frames, right, or plans on how we continue to resolve this. We have a responsibility to our neighbors, to our constituents, to report when there is nuisance businesses or nuisance activities happening that impede on the quality of life in our district. And so, you know, we want to work with our state legislators, right? But oftentimes, as you can see in this case, we have been having conversations for 2 years. And again, we have a responsibility on the ground to respond to the needs and to the quality of life of the people that we represent. And so we have to start somewhere. We can't continue to sit back and wait. And hopefully, through these conversations, we are going to be able to move the needle forward locally, or we will push our counterparts at the federal and state level to do something quickly.
Thank you for that.
Yes, Tom, I was actually pretty amazed that you were actually against this bill. Can you clarify the 6,000 machines you say that this would create? Where are they coming from?
Yes, potentially. What we were looking at was publicly available information on the number of liquor license within the city. I believe that came down somewhere around 1,300. And then looking at the potential number of machines per, I think that's
Well, I
where
could
was
tell you
extrapolate from.
that they already have the machines. Most of the bars have machines in them, any neighborhood you go into. So I don't see where it would be creating 6,000 more. The number that we're concerned about is that 50,000 and up machines in our neighborhoods where we also live and have to deal with neighbors coming to our house to say, hey, my husband just put his whole paycheck in the poker machine at the takeout beer store because he went around to get a six-pack, started drinking the six-pack while he was there, caught a buzz, had no was willing to stick his whole paycheck in there. That's the kind of things we're trying to stop. We're trying to stop the exploitation of our residents. As you said yourself, Live Casino, you guys have a lot of machines in there, right?
Yes,
a
sir.
lot of machines where people are going to gamble, which is their right, legally, licensed, as my partner here has said on numerous occasions, security, lighting, different things that make it a little harder for somebody to get over on one of our residents.
I agree with that.
Unlike walking in my neighborhood on Kensington and Allegheny, the 4 blocks to their house with a young buck following close behind, ready to bang them on the head after they just finally hit a machine that they put their whole check into. They're the kind of things that we're trying to stop. We're trying to stop the nuisance of the drug dealers that hang out there waiting for one of these addicts that are playing on the machine to hit so that they can get a couple extra dollars from him for the merchandise he's going to buy. That's why I was really, really confused when you were against this bill. Now, I get the fact that you're saying regulations. We're all for regulations. We're all for, you know, taxation so that the city gets its little piece of the pie. That's fine. What we're trying to do is get rid of the illegal machines and the illegal establishments that are doing this in our neighborhoods. If they want to go to a casino, then they should go to a casino and gamble and get the right odds and get the right payouts and have at least an opportunity on how the machines are regulated that they actually may hit and make a couple dollars rather than put their whole check into it.
Thank you for sharing that, because again, we mentioned earlier that the dialogue is essentially what we're here for. And I think everybody benefits from it. I certainly have benefited from what I've heard. If I could respond, at least from my experience, to some of the issues that you had raised. When you're discussing, trying to do something about what we refer to as problem and compulsive gamblers, I think you gave the example of the husband that goes and gets a six-pack. From the gaming side, that at least I'm familiar with the Gaming Control Board, what it had in place and continues to this day is a means to be self-excluded. So you would be able to put yourself on a list that would keep licensed entities from the industry, like casinos, from marketing to them. But again, that was a framework that was put in place before we opened the casinos and before they were legalized, and it works pretty well. With respect
you guys have criteria of how you guys do things.
Certainly. Certainly.
You
With respect to security, which is obviously a concern that we would have as well, again, through the regulation that was put in place, there is a minimum security staffing requirements that we must adhere to. There's cameras, there's surveillance, all of which is strictly regulated.
Exactly.
With respect to the payouts you were talking about, all of the devices had to be screened by a third-party lab that would make sure that the payouts, which were purported, were accurate. So again, in each of those instances that you raised, I agree with you 100%. Those are legitimate concerns. But what I'm at least familiar with is already have the regulatory framework in place prior to the legalization. That's all I'm submitting.
Yeah, and I'm kind of losing my train of thought here. He said so many things that I'm just trying to get it all wrapped around my head. But, as far as casinos are concerned, when you're walking around a casino, you guys have rules that you're regulated by where you'll see if you have a gambling problem, call 1-800
Yes, sir.
gambler. You warn people while they're playing. Sometimes it pops up on machines.
Okay,
Out of order, my man. You're going to get a shot up here. I'm just asking questions. I'm trying to get the information correct so that we can make an informed decision that's going to benefit everybody. All right? It's questions. It's not, I have no thought already.
Okay, but
Right.
we
So,
can't record that.
What I'm saying is that you guys have rules about that kind of stuff, and this stuff's not regulated in any way whatsoever. These machines that I think were falling off the thing are illegal. They're not a legal machine. Once they pay out, that's illegal. Correct.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that. I don't think I understood the question. Let me answer.
A machine in a store that pays out is already illegal. It is illegal to gamble in an establishment that is not an established gambling site. Is that correct?
With respect to these devices, these are the issues that are pending before the courts right now. With respect to that, I don't think there's an obvious answer to that, regrettably, given the state of the court. And that's one of my earlier recommendations, to wait till we get some guidance from the Pennsylvania Supreme Court on that, on the issue that you're asking about. Sorry about that.
Well, in several more years, we'll
Yeah,
check that.
exactly.
But in the meantime, do you have calibrations on what similar machines have to pay out on average?
Oh, yes. I mean, by statute, it's regulated for, again, I'm specifically talking about the Gaming Control Board and the Gaming Act and slot machines that I'm familiar with. There's a specific statutory limit. But to be competitive, it must be higher than that. I believe and again, this is coming from an attorney, not an operator, but I believe our payouts are somewhere between 91 to 93%, I believe is the range. So that's, again, there's a statutory floor, but to be competitive, you really can't go down that low. But the point is, the machines are calibrated in advance to be put on the gaming floor to prove by a third party that they are.
Who is that third party?
GLI.
Say it again?
GLI. It's a third party through when I was there, actually, the Gaming Control Board had its own separate lab and did that. But it ultimately got.
Could you spell out GLI? Who is that?
Gaming, I think it's Gaming Labs International or Gaming Labs Incorporated. We always refer to it as the acronym GLI.
That's the whole point.
But yeah, there is a certification process, and no machines will go on a gaming floor regulated by the Gaming Control Board without the certification.
How often are they checked?
I know they're checked before they go on the gaming floor. After that, I would have to get back to you on that.
Okay. Member Young? Chair recognizes Member Young.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Deal,
Yes, sir.
would you I guess, equate these machines to gambling or having a gambling-like effect?
I'm not sure. The definition of these machines, again, is something that's pending. But are you asking whether a problem and compulsive gambler
That's
would
what I'm
have a
leading to.
problem on
Yes.
these machines?
Yes.
To be very clear, that would be beyond my area of expertise. I think you can certainly draw your own conclusions. But yeah, I'm here to discuss more from a regulatory standpoint, not maybe from a psychologist. But I certainly would trust your judgment and discernment to draw the conclusions that you may already have.
And you're here representing a casino, correct?
Yes, sir.
And so I'm going to draw the conclusion and say that these machines have a gambling-like effect that could create a compulsory, response in this particular
Certainly.
manner. And given that, right, if I'm a compulsive gambler in these machines, and I want to gamble more in a more legal, safe environment, as a compulsive gambler, is it a more safe environment for me to receive the feelings that I'm looking for at one of your casinos?
It would certainly be more regulated, and let me be very specific what I mean by that. You would have the opportunity, if you thought you were a problem and compulsive gambler, to add your name to a list where you would be prohibited from entering and playing in our casinos. That is a mechanism that's been in place from day one at the Gaming Control Board and continues. That mechanism, to my knowledge, is not in place in the devices that you're discussing.
And it's not, and I would say that then a customer would then have to put themselves on a list to no longer enter their corner store that they've been going into for years upon years upon years, right? So I think that framework here will be ineffective for what we are trying to accomplish here. And so I just think that, understanding, psychological effects, like I said, you're not here for that, but as a member of this body, we have to look at things holistically.
Understood.
And looking at that particular issue, I do think that having these machines in our communities then lead to folks, can lead to your particular employer benefiting from these machines. So I can see why you would be here to testify in support of these machines.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Member Hardy.
Just one follow-up. Would you allow these machines in the casino?
I wouldn't make that determination. The Gaming Control Board makes it very clear what we can and cannot put in our
Thank you.
facilities.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
There you go.
I would hire you as my attorney. You are good.
Well, you've treated me very well. I sincerely appreciate all of you giving the opportunity to provide questions and answers, and I certainly would make myself available in the future if that would be helpful to you, even in a small way.
Thank you so very
Thank you.
much for your testimony. Mr. Glass, who do we have?
Mr. Chairman, our next speaker is William Beck.
Welcome. Thank you for your patience.
Yes.
Thank you.
Finally.
Yes, good afternoon,
State your
council
name for the
members.
record and please
My
begin
name's
your
William.
testimony.
My name's William Beck. I'm in this business, and I'm glad I came after the casino gentleman. He's telling some truths, but not all the truths. He don't want skill machines because they're competition. They have 1-800 numbers, and they have these do not allow betting list, but they're not there to help people. They're there so they can stay in business. See this here? Everybody has one of these, a cell phone, okay? You can go on any app now. You don't even need to walk on bricks and mortar for anything, okay? You can just gamble right from a phone. And I watched it destroy my son's life for a little while, okay? So I don't want to hear about the heroisms of the casino. What I do want to say, though, is I agree with everybody up here that it is definitely a nuisance if it's not regulated. And I earn off of skill machines, part of what I do, in the business. And I work for a company, I'm not going to say their name, because I'm not speaking on behalf of them. I'm speaking on my experiences. But this all started, you guys keep saying in 2017. From what I learned, or my experiences, in 2014, there was a bill passed, not a bill passed, actually a court ruling from a judge in Beaver County saying that these skill machines are legal because they're not a game of chance. They're a game of skill. For whatever reasons, whatever you can do, nudge a button, play foul with a banana, or touch here, whatever they are. And that's why they started coming out. Initially, there was one machine, a pace machine, that was on the court ruling. That was it, okay? So then I guess around 2017, 2018, 2019, COVID especially, you start seeing all these unauthorized skill machines that weren't adjudicated by the judge in Beaver County. What happened is that I think a lot of people from Virginia, the one gentleman said New York, I don't know, but they came down, started offering a wide variety of commission structures, all unregulated by even the judge, a court, okay? That's where the problem started. That's where the infiltration of all the neighborhoods, delis, gas stations, you're right. It's there's 6, 7 machines. I mean, if my aunt or my grandmother, God rest her soul, or my mother walked into a place like that for their convenience, because that's what that store initially opened for, convenience, they might be a little intimidated. I know our company, or bigger vending companies out there, wanted to do this for tavern and bar owners and VFW, Post, stuff like that, because they needed extra income. And that was supposed to be in a bill with VGTs, video gaming terminals. And for years, these big vending companies, even though that adjudication was in Beaver County in 2017, they didn't even try to put any of these games out because they didn't want to jeopardize their licenses for the future for legal, regulated video gaming terminals. But for whatever reason, there was a lot of pushback from powers that be, casinos, it didn't go through. So then, I guess, it spread it down from Beaver County into the area, okay? And we were just following regulations from the Beaver County judge. That's what most people in the industry did until they didn't. And I guess that's why we're all here today, because it festered. How do you regulate it? A lot of people were talking about. I'm no expert in that. I would say to the one council member, these games in convenience stores, if a little kid was you walk in with your little kid, probably one game there, and that would keep the traffic down. That would also keep people playing for hours, and it wouldn't affect the one woman's business that she says it helps her with income, and it probably does. I think you can find a happy medium to everything, but 5 or 6 or 7 machines, it's outrageous. And we're in that business, and we don't feel like it's appropriate. That's what casinos are for, actually. Liquor establishments, bars and stuff like that, like like everyone up here was suggesting, they take ID, you're carded. Yeah, that's probably a good place for it, especially now since the regular grocery stores and Acme's and everything like that have liquor license. They can buy takeout beer. That was a big part of a bar when they pay $100,000 for their liquor licenses. Takeout beer was, part of their revenue. Now it's not. You can just go to the Acme, Yeah, I think a happy medium. It's a good business. The city definitely could make a lot of money on it, regulated, and it should be. It could help. It could help every inner cities, whatever. I grew up in Philadelphia, so I hear everybody talking about the crime, and in the end, it is the person, but certain things lead to crime, So I wanted to come up here and just state some facts because I am in the business. I see the city streets. I'm all over them. Kensington and Allegheny. I spent some time down there before we got out of control. I don't think skill games anywhere in that vicinity are even making money because of the drug problem. So, that's an issue. But I'd be more than happy to answer any questions. Sure.
Of a casino, you have people serving you drinks, you have food flowing, you have the ringing of the bell, which is like Pavlov. You get stimulated. Yeah, you get stimulated. You want to put your money in. You hear somebody win. I won, and that helps. Tell me, when you're sitting in one of these neighborhood places, what attracts people to that ambiance?
What attracts people what? To play
To
the game?
go gamble at a corner store versus the casino. What attracts?
So it's not gambling.
It's not gambling.
It's not gambling. It's a skill machine, okay?
Okay.
It's a video game, and so that attracts people. Before there was skill machines, there was arcade games, Miss Pac-Man, and that's what attract people. So that's what attracts people, because it's there. Now, if there's 5 or 7 or 10 of them, well, then there's more of an attraction. I get what you're saying. But when you walk into the store, if it's there, just like the vending machine now that you have from the Pennsylvania State Lottery, before it was just walk up and get a ticket. Now they can go there and put their money in there and get, You know, same thing. Well, not the same thing, but the same type of attraction. There is lights, there is music, you know, there's things. It's there.
Stimulation.
There's advertising and everything, though.
Okay. No, that's helpful to me, because when I see stools right by there and people sitting on them, and I'm looking around, it's cheese and butter and milk, right? And they're sitting there. In their mind, I'm thinking, where are they? But I see what you're saying. Thank you so much. Any other questions?
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Questions?
I have a question.
Member Gaudier.
So it took you a long time to get up here with your testimony, but you seem mostly to be testifying in support. I mean, you seem mostly to be agreeing with us that it's better to have these games in places that sell liquor and are licensed, more appropriate for their presence.
Right, because I thought, I was coming here today because I saw the city ordinance, and I thought you guys were making certain adjustments to them, as far as 30 more seats, 20 or more seats.
Got it.
Okay.
And regulation. I mean, we want law and order, just like the other people said. I have children, I don't want to see, I don't want to see kids. We have stickers that says 18 or older, but come on. But if they're in liquor establishments, they can't go in, and you're more of an adult at a certain age.
So you agree with the bill with the amendments that have been made?
Yes, as far as it being regulated, not totally wiped out.
I think we're saying the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
No doubt.
I'm sorry.
Member Harry.
We did a cutout because of those reasons that you said, the bars, VFWs, restaurants that have seating for a certain amount. What we're trying to regulate is them in the stores. So you're actually saying regulate them and limit them? Is that what your testimony was for the stores?
Well, if I was writing the bill,
Go ahead, yeah.
Come on, here's your opportunity.
Yep.
yeah, so if I was writing the bill, I wouldn't want to hurt store owners either. And I think we can come up with a reasonable solution for that. And I guess that would be a combination of everything as far as, if you have a convenience store, right? A regular convenience store, not a convenience store that says they're a convenience store with three
Right.
items on the shelf. You know what I mean? One machine, you don't have the traffic, maybe two machines, I don't know, okay? I don't know the number there, but definitely not more than two, because then you're asking for people hanging out. And I saw the video with the police officers and the gentleman that got shot, but the guy that got shot wasn't even the guy playing the skill machine. You know what I mean? But no, that's because you're going to have crime, like the one lady said, and you don't want to hurt them. So if you did one skill machine, they could still make a decent income. Now the people that put 5 to 7 machines that are convenience stores, that's greed. That's all that is. And if they're here today, I know it because I deal with you. Those bonuses that guy talked about, people coming in from $10,000 and giving a bigger percentage, they come from a place that deregulated or didn't make, either they were regulated they were regulated, and I think they got deregulated. So now they're sitting on equipment. They can give you whatever because they invested so much money on the equipment. That's what'll happen next here. You want to get something straight, You just want to get it in one direction where you don't have this crime. You want one or two, regulated games like it was from the judge in Beaver County, and you've had that issue, and you've compromised the city, and there was a ruling on that you just weren't going to pick up machines. The city has that with just that machine, that manufacturer, and yet everybody piggybacked off of that, and the bad actors jumped in. So basically, you do have legal skill games,
Absolutely, yeah.
but you don't, and you have illegal ones. We want to make sure that any skill games that you do have, or not make sure, we would like to come to a compromise, obviously, for everybody. Safety, income, generate income, that's all.
Thank you for your patience and your testimony.
Thank
It was
you.
worth waiting for.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
Sorry, I get it.
That's all right.
When I start hearing the wrong things, I get a little emotional.
you.
It's the Italian side of me. You know what I
Now
mean?
we got it all on
There's a
the
few of us
record.
up here, we get the same way.
They get like
so,
that, too.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Mr. Glass, we have two more to testify?
Mr. Chairman, our next testifier will be Tang Jam.
Okay. Welcome.
Thank you.
Hey, my name is Tariq, and I'm a small business owner in South Philadelphia. On the other hand, I'm a member of FOA. We having about 100 store owners in the associations, and that means that I'm a one person, but means 100 people are speaking. We have a lot of good and a lot of bad out there, but nowadays we are going as a business owner to a lot of challenges, which is high theft, inventory shortages, more taxes in city of Philadelphia than any other county in Pennsylvania. For example, a sugar tax, $2 a packs per cigarette, right? And a lot more is going on there. So BIRT taxes, right? And we need, on one hand, that I heard most of you guys that trying to support the community, but what I think you can't support the community without having a small businesses. And only we can be as business if we have a lot of cash flow nowadays because of the inflations, cost of living is way so up high. Before the COVID, we used to pay $6 or $7 an hour. By the way, I'm a 7-Eleven owner. We used to pay $7 or $8 an hour, and due to the employee shortages, inventory shortages, and a lot of more problems, the wages went up so high, and everybody is mostly at least paying $12 an hour. For me as a small business owner, if we sit in a room and we trying to guess, okay, there's a hot or cold out there, we always gonna have a wrong decision if we don't Google it, right? So for us to take real steps and study the reality, I will recommend to have a team in place and they can go and really understand the small business owner that how many challenges they are going on daily basis. Long story short, but if the skills of gang machines was not in life, we will not be in business. My door is open and I'm having about 12 family members. They are just eating and their way of reason because we have skills of game machines and my business is open. If you took the skills of game away, my door will be closed. That means if my door is closed, there is going to be 100 more 7-Eleven in the city of Philadelphia, they will be closed too. We are talking about that there is a positive and negative, like, okay, people are hanging out in the store. This is not because of the skills of game machine. This is because of policing. The police are not responding to the phone calls. They're not showing up on time. Even the police are telling that we have to be closed. The reason why they say that, because the regulation has been made, that which is not supporting the police, but they are supporting the criminals. So we need to make better laws for businesses, how they can be alive, and make a better laws for policing that, okay, how they respond to the matters. So my suggestion is that we need to make, you guys need to make a regulation and having a better environment for skills of game machines, which is supporting small businesses. So I would like to take any question you guys have.
So first, thank you for coming in and your patience. I want you to know that we support small businesses. We are not in the business of killing the goose that laid the golden eggs. You are the employers and people who pay our salaries. So we recognize it. Question I have is, what percentage of the gaming is your total gross of your business?
40%, we are making 40% of the business. My yearly commission is about $100,000.
Say it again?
A yearly commission is about $100,000.
$100,000. How many machines do you have?
I have 4 machines.
This business.
Let me add this thing. Like before, I used to have a lot of employees issues, right? People used to come and shoplifting a lot, right? The employees used to constantly stop working at the store. The reason why, like 2 or 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. or 12 a.m. in the morning, they used to be almost alone in the store. I used to get scared. Right now, these businesses, the Skills Up Game machine is bringing people to the store who is sitting and giving kind of confidence to the employees who they can talk to, right? And they feel more comfortable.
Okay. You said it's 100,000, 40%. That's significant. Okay, any questions?
Mr. Chair.
Member Young?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, if I am understanding you correctly, basically.
So let me take this. If you, like my yearly payroll is about $230,000, right? If you take the Skills Up Game machine, and last year, including taxes, I made $96,000. If that $100,000 went away from my income, I will make zero balance, even a negative.
So in order to operate a convenience store, you have to operate a gambling, you have to have a gambling-like component to it. That's what you're telling us today.
Say it again?
In order to operate a convenience store, you have to have a gambling-like component to it in order to stay in the black.
I didn't understand your question correctly. Explain another word.
So you're based on what you've said is that you are not making it. You cannot make enough money in your store unless you have these machines.
Yes.
So again, so as a convenience store, you must have these machines in order to keep your doors open.
Yes.
I mean, prior to these machines being utilized in Philadelphia, how long has your store been open without the machines?
My store been open, I mean, more than 40 years ago, right? But before COVID, there was a different environment. We can't count those. We used to have a $7 or $8 employees, right? Right now, at least we are paying $12 an hour to every employees. People used to work so hard because there was no Uber, no Lyft, no DoorDash in places, right? And right now, people are not into that. People just want to have an easier, so they're now working hard like they used to be, right? So before, like for example, if we used to have 2 employees per shift to cover the shift, we need at least a third person to cover the shift.
So essentially, because of the employee market, right? The employee market now has driven down your profit margins because employees are now demanding more money to work.
Yes.
And so in order to cover that profit margin, you're stating that the only way that you can cover that is by having these machines in the store.
Yes.
Okay,
And that means if you go to 100 7-Eleven store owners, right, and sit with them and go through their financial, right? For example, if you go to mom and pop store, right, I don't think you're gonna come out with any type of result because there is nothing documented. But in 7-Eleven, that everything is documented, right, and you can see that what the real life is.
So I can tell you, in a past life, before I became a member of this body, again, I said I represented small businesses. My firm represents a lot of franchise owners. So I understand what your profit margins are, where they at, where they could be. But this is the first time I've heard that someone cannot operate their store unless they have these machines in there.
Yes. So my store in the city of Philadelphia counted as a higher volume store, right? But for me, as a higher volume store, if I cannot operate, there is a lot more that they cannot. There was these 100 FOA member, there's 100 FOA members supposed to come into this meeting. The reason they came in, they cannot come into this meeting because they poor people, they start 6 or 5 a.m. in the morning and they're getting off work about 9 or 10 p.m. They're putting every day 16 or 14 or 13 hour a day. And probably we all a 7-Eleven customer, probably you guys in the morning go to 7-Eleven, when you get off work and you go back to that 7-Eleven, you're gonna see the same employee. Is why? Because of all these challenges.
And I get working hard, right? I was an entrepreneur. I understand getting up early, working late. I mean, that's what happens when you're an entrepreneur. That's what you have to do. It's a part of business. But I just find it hard to believe that the markets will not be able to adjust to this type of regulation, and that you are only able to see a profit margin significant enough to stay in business with these machines. That's all.
Thank you
So my answer to that question is, if I understood it correctly, right? So myself cannot be in business without having these machines in the store. And this is the voice of every single franchisee that you just hearing just from only
Which
one person.
franchise was that? 7-Eleven?
So yes, 7-Eleven,
And you're in South Philadelphia?
South Philadelphia, sir.
I've gone to 7-Eleven in Center Cities, and I have not seen these machines.
Say it again?
I've gone to 7-Eleven inside of Center City, and I have not seen these machines in the 7-Elevens in Center City.
So we was having the gentleman, he having 4 stores or 3 stores, Balwinder. I'm talking about Balwinder, he just left. Now he got 3 stores. He had 3 stores. He has it in his 3 store, he has it. You have them in your store? Okay. How many, you have them in your store? And 3 stores he has in the city of Philadelphia.
The question is, where are they located?
Okay, so.
Are they in Center City?
Some of the addresses, some of them I remember on top of my head. Mine is, okay, if you go to 23rd and Patching, they has it. If you go to Broad and Wolf, they has it. If you go to 10th and Snyder, they has it. You want me to tell you that one by one?
I guess my point is that for you to say that the stores cannot operate without these machines, I have seen 7-Elevens operate in certain areas and places that don't have these machines. That's my point.
So, like some people, they're having a lot of family support, right? So, if you go inside to those stores and ask them, right? So, probably their son is under 15, was coming out of school. In the morning, mom is work, afternoon, father is work, later on at daytime, the son is working, right? So, some of the people, they are running the store that way, right? There is another story, but the store, they aren't depending on employees, right? So, they cannot operate.
I mean, but again, that's the nature of having a family business, being a small business owner. I mean, that happens you can look at whatever industry you want to look at. If you're going to be a small business owner, that's the time that you get up early, you go to sleep late, right? That's the nature of it. So again, I'm just trying to figure out why is it that this particular industry has to have these machines in order to be profitable.
Okay, so this particular industry, we are making a good amount of money from them, right? And it's easy money for us to make it. And it's safe. We don't have any problems about, okay, if we talking, the guy, he was just saying that, okay, we having an ATM, like someone cannot get on the ATM, we can just rearrange the store and we can put in, there should be a regulations, okay, where we can put it, where we cannot, the number of machines, make sure that whoever own the machine company, they are paying the license fee and they are regulated. These are the kind of changes make it, but it is not, it is I'm highly disagree if the machine gonna be taken away from the stores.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you so much, Member Young. And thank you for your testimony. We have to have frank discussions to get understanding. So I appreciate you telling us the reality of running a franchise store, and I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Who do
Thank
we
you
have
so much.
next?
Mr. Chairman, our next speaker is Tang Jam.
Tang Jim.
No, Brian Castillo. Hi, my name is Brian Castillo. Nice to meet you guys. As an immigrant, I was born in the Dominican Republic. I came here and I started working in a bodega. So within the time in that bodega, there was a couple times a week, a couple times a month, maybe 3-4 months in a row, where the store owner told me, I gotta pay you tomorrow, or I have to pay you next 2 days, because they wouldn't do the numbers. When I stopped working on the bodegas, that was one of the reasons, because there was no money to pay the customers. I'm an operator, so I got into this business. I was able to go to the same store owner, which he was like a father to me, go to the store, put one of these machines in there, one of the skill games. Now the guy, he actually has 2 more employees. It's not just making revenue to the store owner or to the operator, it's actually creating jobs. Because there's time in grocery store owners where there's a lot of here, and there's a lot of people that actually had to come here, that one of the reasons they are able to have a little bit more freedom in their business is because they're able to actually pay for another employee. I understand the reason about having 6-7 machines being a problem for the community, which is totally fine. That's why in everything, actually in alcohol, in sodas, in food, that's why the FDA actually exists. There has to be control in everything by the city. So one way for you guys as the city to actually fix that problem is come in and help out, but not take them out. We working, there's a lot of people coming in. Everybody said everything that I had to say today. Totally right. You have a store, you go to a store, you put the machines. Then you only put 2 because the store owner said, I don't have any more space. Somebody else has come in, offers him $1,000, $2,000 per machine to put their machines in. So now we have mine 2, then we have the other guy that offered $4,000, $5,000 to put theirs 2, and then we have another guy. And as a store owner, you have to understand $5,000 is a lot of money. $5,000 for everybody is a lot of money. So when you have everything in cash, even if the machine doesn't make that much money, it's a lot of money. So one way for you guys to regulate it is actually implementing two machines per store. That would actually help in the 4, 5, 6 guys hanging out inside of the store. And then somebody comes in, like a child, the grandma, your mom, you yourself, actually go into the store. You don't have to bump in everybody because there's 5, 6 guys playing in the machines. Totally right about that. Percentage-wise, money-wise, in Norristown, I know it doesn't really matter here in Philly, but in Norristown, something they did is that you couldn't put more than 6 machines inside of a store, depending on square footage, and they charge $100 per year per machine. That's in Norristown, of course, and I know that because I've paid it myself. That's one way to actually help out. Another way to help out is regulating the percentage by profit. We usually do 50-50. Pennsylvania Scale is another company that do 60-40. So they say it's 10% for the state, which is not regulated. So they say they pay taxes, but they're not paying the actual 10% to the store, to the state. They say that, but it's 60-40, and there's another guy, came from Eugenia, came from New York, from everywhere, to be honest, because it's a business, that they do 75, 65, 85%. And that makes business a little bad, if we can say that. Because the store owner is saying, I'm gonna get a little bit more money, but then he wants to stay with you, and then it becomes another problem of having 7 to 8 machines. The problem with doing $500 penalty, $300 penalty, it's not worth it. If you're going to do anything with the skill games, it has to be something $50,000. The store owner gets scared. When you talk about $2,000, store owner gets scared because, I mean, there's stores that they don't make $1,000. And there's certain locations that they used to make $1,000 per week, $500 per week. Now with the economy, it's $100 a week, $200 a week. So now everything is going low. I had a store myself, and bad times, we had to actually fire the employees. There was no way for us to cover the cost. That's how I actually started on this business, because we put these machines and I was able to make it up. When the sir right behind me said that he has 100 7-Elevens, that they are actually dependent on these machines, I believe him, because the economy is not what it used to be. Right now, a box of juice costs $3, $4. It used to be $1.99, $1.49. Eggs used to be 5 for $5. I used to sell them 50 cents each dozen. Now it's not. Now it's $2.99. Now it's $3.99. So you have to understand there's a lot more cost in everything and less money in the streets. So right now, if you open up a store, you can do it yourself. You open the store, you sell $100 worth of eggs, you make 50 cents, you make $50. But then an employee has to work 12 hours, making $100. You're negative. The only way we can actually figure this one out and actually help everybody out, small businesses, that this is why we are here, it's regulating the machines, making them 100% legal, taxating them, but also helping the store owner. Most of everything helping the store owner, because we as distributors, we don't have that much problems as they do. We still have to pay employees. We still have to cover the negative. We still have to cover the cost of fixing the machines, which cost a lot of money. Just one screen costs $1,000. So when it breaks, it's $1,000 that we cover, not the store owner. The store owner gets a lot of, how can I say this? A lot of profit, which can be taxable if we only can help him out. We do 50-50, like we said. There's no problem on giving the state or the city 10%, $100 per machine. However, you guys can actually understand and actually pay even the officers. So we can help the officers, pay them more hours, more everything, because how can I say this? Criminal activity outside of the skill games, they exist. I used to work for an ATM company. They broke into my car. They stole $50,000 out of my car. I was with my pregnant wife at the time. Well, my wife. She was pregnant. We went to Home Depot. We went to buy some tools. Somebody broke into the car, stole $50,000. That was 2 years ago. Up until this day, I haven't heard from the police telling me where's my money, or if they actually caught the guys, which they got on video because it was in a Home Depot parking. So it exists already. If you go to Kensington Ave, it still exists. You see people robbing in the streets with police passing by. They just don't stop because of the location. I called, the same day I called for the $50,000, which, let me tell you, it's a lot of money. They took over an hour to be there. That was before the machines. So when certain guys come here and tell you this is harming the community, how is it harming it if it's already there? It doesn't improve it because there's drugs in the streets right now. That doesn't have nothing to do with us. There's people robbing because of necessity, because I'm not saying they're doing it because they want to. Some people want to, actually. But this is not a problem from the skill games. Putting them in liquor stores, just in liquor stores, you would be killing hundreds, if not thousands of store owners that actually make money out of that. And it just doesn't matter how much we can say. It is something to the skill games. That's why we're having problems when the actual problem is out there. Thank you. Any questions?
No, but that was good testimony.
Mr. Chair.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Another question? Member Lozada?
Young. Councilmember Young.
Oh, Member Young.
Yes, thank you for your testimony. I really appreciate that, provided different perspective for me. But one thing you said is that, how does this regulation, change things, or how does these machines, change things in communities? What I would say is that these machines, it concentrates the negative behaviors in the stores, right? So the negative behavior exists. It's going to exist in these communities wherever you go. It is there, but you don't want to concentrate that on one location, on one space, because that exacerbates, the negative things that are happening in communities. So for us as a body, again, we want to figure out how can we mitigate any negative things that are happening in our communities. And these machines, from my perspective, concentrates that negative behavior on these stores, right? And that's just like, if I put it outside of my house, right, and folks are coming to use this machine outside of my house all the time, congregating outside of my house, how do you think my neighbors would feel, right? And that is what's happening in these communities. These stores are in communities with neighbors. And that's all we're saying. So the neighbors, the communities.
But one thing, I'm sorry to interrupt you. One thing that the players are not from outside. The players are the neighbors. That's one thing. The second thing is negative behavior comes with cigarettes, comes with alcohol. When somebody goes to the convenience store and actually says, let me go buy a pack of cigarettes, and they say, we don't have them. Do you know what they do? They even break your store because you don't have them. And it doesn't have nothing to do with the machines. And trust me, I told you, I've worked in a store. Somebody went, bought a pair of, I think, headphones. He bought headphones. They stopped working the next day. He went in there and he broke them on my face. We had a protector, thank God, but he threw them on my face. There was no machines at the time. Negative behavior exists.
That was my point. They do exist.
It has something to do, but let me tell you, it doesn't have nothing to do with the machines. Because if you have two machines, if you go to any stores, you go to, I don't know, let's just say 100 stores. And I can tell you because we have locations in over 100 stores. We pay our taxes. We pay everything. We pay employee. We buy gas stations. We go to store owners. We buy them groceries. So that it helps, everywhere helps out. There's no negative behavior in our stores because of the machines. We've never had a problem on them breaking them. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but I'm saying it happens not that much a month, not even a month.
I must be going the wrong times then when I go to the stores.
Of course. I mean, I'm not saying. It's like you're saying that we shall compare Kensington Ave, right, to Central Philly. That doesn't have any sense. There's more drugs in Kensington Ave and more homeless guys than in Central Philly, right? So it doesn't have nothing to do into the location or with the machines. It just has something to do how the community works with education, how the city helps these guys out, because we have nothing to do with how somebody is not educated. That's something that has to deal the city with. The education, I have an education, and I've been in trouble before, but you don't see me breaking stuff. You don't see me slamming into other people. If you say that the people that drives, that they have a negative behavior, when there's some construction down in Roosevelt Boulevard, that always happens, then in that traffic stop, somebody's always putting in the horn every time, and somebody trying to crash on somebody else's because there's a traffic stop, and it's not because of us. It's because of the cities actually repairing or building the streets. It doesn't have nothing to do with the machines. It has everything to do with the education that this city provides to their citizens.
Right, but the machines create the environment for these things.
A good environment if you don't know. You know what they do when they win? That I've been there, they get happy. I've seen people paying their rent.
And you know what they do when they lose all their money? They get upset.
They don't get that upset. Believe it or not, they don't get that upset.
Man,
if you go
I'm going at the wrong times. I'm sorry. I gotta
like I said, if you go into those type of communities where people are not educated, where people are gonna break into stuff, no matter if they're playing the machine, it matters. You know what matters? Everything to them. If you don't fix their streets, if you don't put cigarettes, which right now cigarettes licensing is crazy to get. If you don't get liquor license and somebody's trying to sell beer, you can't do that because it costs $200,000. So for you to regulate something for the liquor stores only, you have a certain amount that you're gonna give the people, so it's gonna be like a monopoly. So just a certain amount of people can have it, and the people that had that money. So somebody with the grocery stores, $100,000, that's a lot of money. So you know what's 200,000? Just to purchase the licensing for the liquor license. $200,000 to $300,000 just to purchasing the liquor license, and then you have to build a business. It's over for $500,000 in investment. There's not everybody that has that kind of money.
That is a risk of being a small business owner.
Of course,
When
but
you
the
go
risk,
into
the
business,
risk comes with the city too. So if the city doesn't work for the citizens, then we're in trouble. You guys as the city have to help a small businesses owner to succeed, to stop becoming a small business.
But not to the detriment of our community.
But
not
that's
to the quality,
the thing.
detriment of the
When
quality
you
of life in our
become,
neighborhoods.
when you become from a grocery store, now you have enough money to actually become a supermarket. That generates a lot of traffic and it generates a lot of employees. That's just, it is what it is. Business works just like you said. The problem is when you say the community, now they're having problems. There's one store in every single street. Every corner there's a store. That we don't have nothing to do with that. The city does, because if you don't want 100 people in one store, then you let them open a lot of stores. So if you don't want everybody to go just to the casinos and go to the liquor stores, it's a monopoly. Just two guys can have it, and the guy that has a lot of money. Remember, this is America. So one of the things, most of the immigrants actually come here, it's because we are able to succeed in this country. So because we are not able to actually open it in our country. Remember, in our country, that's the problem that we have, that for you to open up a successful business, you must be a millionaire. You must have a lot of money or people or friends with a lot of people. In America, you can open up a business with $20,000 that you get from a loan, and you open up a small business. And you know what's the dream of everybody? Grow, not stay a small business. So these machines help these guys out to actually open 2 stores, 3 stores. There's people that actually have opened 2, 3, 4 stores. You know what those stores do? They pay taxes. They pay sugar taxes. They pay employees. The employees pay their taxes. So it helps them out. It helps everybody out when you give these guys an opportunity to make $500, which maybe for you guys is not a lot of money, but $500 pays a lot of bills. Remember, rent is $1,500 these days. So right now, if you take this $1,500 a month from these guys, or $6,000 a year, you're taking their rent, you're taking 2, 3 employees getting fired, you're taking us as an operators, firing our guys, and you're taking even the store owner paying taxes and us paying more taxes than we should. So we're helping everybody. It's just like a circle. Everybody's helping each other.
So should we allow other activities to occur in stores if we were able to tax it? Should we allow store owners to sell other illegal items because it's being taxed, because you're making money contributing to the economy? Should we do that?
I'm sorry to say this, but in this country, happened with weed. Because it makes a lot of money, because it makes everything, now we're regulating weed. So can you actually tell me, skill games are more dangerous than weed?
I'm not saying that the skill games
It's not more dangerous, but it's being regulated and it's becoming legal every state.
Well, weed is illegal.
And trust me,
in
it is
Pennsylvania.
far more dangerous having people selling drugs outside because it's legal than having people, 2 machines per store, because I'm not saying...
But to my point, you have those machines, you said people outside selling drugs. When I go to these stores, the people who I see on these machines are people who are high on drugs at these stores. So you know who follows people
take the drugs away.
Who follows addicts? Drug dealers follow the addicts. They're going to go to where the addicts are.
I believe
so
what you're
if the
saying.
addicts are at these stores, that's where they're going to go.
I believe what you're saying, but then it becomes a two-way problem. Drugs have been in this country and in this state for more since I wasn't even born since that time. So if you think about it, if you want to kill the problem from the inside, kill the drugs. And why don't you guys do it? Because don't tell me that the greatest country in the world doesn't have the means to actually kill the drugs. It does. There's enough police.
We're not going to do the drug war.
No, of course, we're not doing that.
I want you to know that I understand. You were winning you were winning up until a point. Then you flipped the script on me.
No, I'm not flipping it. I'm just saying that we have to keep. If we keep that closed mind, then we're not able to grow. For us as a small businesses, we have to, even you guys that are the one that deciding if we can keep on business, you have to keep an open mind and think about, it's not me, I have 2 children. My father, he has 4. If you think about everybody that was here and all the store owners, that there are over 400, 500 stores just in Philadelphia. If you think about them, they have, if you think 500 plus times 5, counting their families, times 6 actually, counting their employees, or 7, you're talking about that with this business, we are trying to protect over 2,800 families. So it's not just the community that are getting hurt. The community, I'm not saying it is not. I'm just saying you can keep them, you're right, but we can regulate it. We can keep 2 machines.
So you're winning again. Stop. Member Lozada, comment and a question from Meredith.
I just want to make a comment. You know, I think that what is important to note here is that we're not against small businesses. I want to say that again.
Of course.
We are not against small businesses, but we have a responsibility to protect quality of life in our district and in our city. When a business becomes a nuisance business because of the activity that they are allowing to concentrate in their establishments, we must respond to it. And so I think that this is what I hope is the beginning of many conversations about how we support small businesses, how do we allow and help to connect you to grow, to be able to take care of your families for generations, but how do we keep quality of life intact in our communities? And I think that's very important, right? Because where you live and where your family lays their heads to rest at night, you want it to be a safe, peaceful space, right? And I think across the city of Philadelphia, everyone wants the same thing. And so we're not saying you're wrong. We're not saying anybody. I think that this is the beginning of us having a conversation about how do we create a balance where small businesses can take care of their families and grow while we still protect quality of life in neighborhoods.
We can definitely do that by being organized. Within the organization, we can actually do everything we want to. So you're totally right about what you're saying about quality of life. Well, I'm just saying, if we organize within the city, not because you guys have the power to actually say, there's only 2 machines, there's only 4 machines, there's only 1 machine allowed per store, it's fine. We're not saying that you should not do that. We're saying that you should just control it, organize it. 7 machines per location, it's a lot, which is not just a lot. It costs a lot of money to put 6 machines. So just by you organizing how these machines must be placed, they must be within 6 feet, within each other. You must have enough space for somebody to be playing and somebody to be walking right behind you so they can go through the store. It's totally fine.
But
it's
the
just
only way
organized.
we can get to there, the only way we can get to a balance is that if you all as the operators understand that there is a problem.
Of course,
right?
we do know it's a problem.
Again, we need you all to assume responsibility.
We do
accept
assume
that there is an issue,
Of
right?
course.
And that some of your business is hurting quality of life. We need you to get there in order for us to have honest conversation about how we regulate and what we regulate. What is the max? Or what is the minimum and what comes along with that? If you are not willing to have that conversation, then we're not going to get anywhere. We're going to continue to go in a circle, and 2 years from now, we're going to be having the same conversation.
Of course, and you're 100%, that's exactly what I'm trying to say. You're 100% right about everything you just said. We actually know that there is a problem within having 7 machines. Trust me, us as operators, we're not happy to put 6 machines in one store. They cost over $10,000. So just imagine, $60,000 sitting in a store making $500 a week. Doesn't make the numbers. You're totally right about what you're saying. The problem is, if you don't put 6 machines, then somebody else is coming and they put the 6 machines, and then somebody else is coming and they put 2 more machines, and then you have a store with 12 machines.
Right. So what we're going to do is let Member Harron.
Of course, I'm sorry.
Make his question.
My thing is just, I think we're losing track on the fact that these are licensed businesses that are licensed grocery stores. They're not licensed casino. They're not licensed for gambling. You guys may be right. It's our fault for letting you get away with it because it's illegal. The machines are illegal. It's illegal to pay them out. You're paying them out. That's illegal. It's not registered. It's not licensed. We gave you a license as a small business to sell groceries. That's what you're licensed for. And that's what we got to come to a grips with, that we did not give you a license to be the neighborhood casino. We did not give you a license to have illegal stuff going on in your thing. May not be hurting anybody as far as you know, but they are illegal.
We can say that's what I'm saying about being organized. We can, you're totally right. But we can say that the same thing happens with the ATMs. ATMs is a bank. The ATM.
They're not illegal. They
But
don't
that-
pay
but-
out.
but-
They are
but-
not illegal. And
But
you
that's
are making
what I'm
money on
trying-
the ATM too,
That's what I'm trying.
$3 a pop.
I'm trying to get there. We're trying to get there. It's not like we're not trying. We are trying to be legal. We are trying to actually have licensing. We're trying to actually have all the paperwork that you guys need for you to be safe. But like I said, we as a one part, remember this is a two-way street. One way is ready to work with you guys. We're just waiting for you two guys to work with us.
But one of the things you said was that, you know, the fact of the matter is that they're doing these machines because they're oversaturated with grocery stores in neighborhoods. Maybe that's where we go, limiting the number of grocery stores per neighborhood. Would that make you feel better for you?
You would be, if you eliminate these grocery stores, you know how many families would that actually harm?
Just said that you didn't need all of them.
You just said we didn't need them all.
No,
That's
I'm
why
not
they
saying-
have
I'm not-
to.
I
That's
didn't
why
say-
they have to use the gambling machines to supplement their income.
It doesn't matter
So
how
if
many,
we
it doesn't
cut
matter
the
if you have
number
10.
of stores,
Doesn't matter if
then
you
that
have-
would definitely take care of itself,
Of
correct?
course, but it doesn't matter if you have 10 stores or if you have 5. If you have
just said
5,
it
then
did.
So you were winning. Stop.
You just said you
We
did.
got your point. We got it. Thank you for your testimony, though.
Thank you.
That's where honest dialogue comes in. Mr. Glass, do we have the last person to testify?
Juan Javier.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Javier, thank you
Yes.
for your patience. Please begin your testimony.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you, all the members. Like you say, my name is Juan Javier. I partner a few business in city of Philadelphia. Oh, I'm here not to testify for myself. I'm here to try to be part of the community in this testimony. Not talking just for the business I partnered in the Central City, in this great city of Philadelphia. But before I start, I would love to ask a few questions and introduce myself and a little bit of my background so you can understand all my point of view. My first question is going to be, there's somebody here who owns a grocery store? Can you please raise your hand? Okay. There is somebody here who being robbed in the grocery store because of the machines. Oh, I love the noise. A question for you, all honorable members of this council. Did you before own a grocery store? You did it. Great. I love that. Did you, as a member, take the numbers based on your two members' experience with all due respect, with your experience, with your investment, inventory, profit, and lifestyle? Did you took that numbers before introduce this bill and did that analysis? You did it?
So I was at 16th and Cecil B. Moore, the old Philadelphia Company store. It was a training program, but it was operated in the model of a 7-Eleven, and I did terrible. So I understand how it is.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for that explanation, because you better understand how struggle is running a business. It's running a grocery store day to day, working 16 hours to make $80 sometimes. It's hard. You have to be there. You have to live and work 16 hours a day, making $5 an hour to understand how that feels, being a business owner. I am talking from the bottom, then the business owner and being in struggle, having an inventory, getting dust in that store, not getting sales, because we may not have traffic. I'm getting from the point of view of the business. Now let's go down a little calm and let me introduce myself. My name is Juan Javier. I'm original Dominican, and I am the first generation Dominican American. I am a technology expert. I have a great family who gave me the opportunity to be in college, become as a system engineer with 2 master's degrees. I have a master's degree in system engineering and architect solutions. I used to work for Microsoft. I was 12 years in Microsoft in the South American market. I was part of the team who created Office 365. I was part of the team for cloud technology with Grupo Carso, created satellite network. I've been in skill games for about 6 years, creating technology and understanding how the system works. In my next exposition, or my next question, going to be for you, honorable members. Do we understand what is skill games? Do we understand that terminology? Are we educated in it? What is skill games? What's that? Because it's something different. I heard this terminology, gambling, back and forth. And we understand gambling. We understand the luckiness part. We understand the game of chance part. Why this is called skill game? Why the court case back in 2013, the MD 965 in 2013 allowed this to become legal. Another word I heard in this committee, in this hearing. What I understood when I was taking my citizenship test, this system in this country is a check and balance. Administrative, or legislative, administrative, and judicial, right? You know this better than I do. In order to become legal, you needed to accomplish at least one of the point of view, and one of the point of view have to say you are legal. But getting back to the technology and getting back to our amazing concepts, do we understand what is the difference between gambling and skill games? Are we confident on that?
So, can you kind of get to your point on the testimony?
What is the difference? Or there is some difference between skill games and gambling. There is some difference between skill games and game of the chance. There is something. Because it has to be something. Because why that name? Simple. I will do a little brief and I will be open to any question. As a technology expert, I am ready. I am not prepared for this. But I am pretty confident I can answer any potential question you can come.
So pretty much for me, if it walk like a duck, if it quack like a duck, it's probably got feathers, it's a duck. And so whether somebody says to me, logically, that if I press this button at a certain point, the skill of it allows the rotation of the piece to give me a payout, is no different than if I pull that one-arm bandit and get a rotation and a probability and a percentage payout based on the algorithm that is set by that. Now, I don't know what you know, but I know if it walk like a duck, if it make me broke like a duck, it's probably a duck. So that's my point. And whether it is a duck or a bald eagle, we need to figure out how to regulate it. We need to figure out where they are. We don't know where they nest. It was testified today, there were over 50,000 machines. We don't have a clue where they are. We don't have a clue how much they made last year. We don't know how much they paid out to the customer. We don't know any of those things. And my point is, this hearing, not to be against the small businesses in this room that have testified today, but to figure it out. And that's our job, to try to figure out those answers.
I apologize about the interruption, Mr. Chairman. I am agree, and I'm about to get at your point. But before get at your point, I would love for you to understand where everything comes from. What is the difference? Game of the chance is lucky, it's luckiness. It's gamble. It's not interaction. Who makes the last decision is the software. Who makes all the patrons is the software. It's the machine. I am agree. And 100% to one illegality. I am agree. Game of a skill that has three major components. The number one, who makes the last decision is you. You walk away whenever you want.
Okay.
The number two, you can see before you put a penny in if you're gonna win or you're gonna lose. And you make the last decision. And you have a second part of the software to go into. And just with memorizing the tic-tac-toe games, you can win 105% of the time in the you play. That is a skill game, because the software don't make the last decision. The problem, there is a problem, 100% I agree. Skill game wasn't created to try to compete with casinos, to try to create mini casinos. The gentleman with the prior testimony, he did the perfect. It has to be regulated. Yes, I am 100% agree as the business owner, as the business partner, and as the machine operator. I am 100% agree, but I heard you guys keep saying your intention is not to kill the small businesses. That's why I started on that way. That's why I started with those questions. Solutions, yes. Kill, I feel this is not the intention with this bill. Intention with this bill, to me, from my point of view, with all due respect to this honorable council and all the members, is killing the small businesses. Because me, as a partner in a small business, in multiple small businesses in Philadelphia, without investment, without inventory, having this machine now help me to pay the mortgage.
Okay.
And now we need a solution. Regulations, yes, we need it. That's why we see in so many years fighting at the state level to get this regulated. Illegal machines, there is so many.
So are you for this or against it?
I am not agree with the bill.
Okay, duly noted. We're going to move on, because I got one more to hear from, and I want to hear from them. They were so patient. So I'm going to give you 2 minutes.
Yeah, I'm going to try to make it as brief as possible. I know it's a long night. I got to go get something to eat and get hydrated. And I know you guys are having it tough too.
3.5 hours?
But I'm here. I would like to tell you I appreciate that you mentioned how can we help the business owners. I'm not directly involved. I'm indirectly involved. I help a lot of them. There's a language barrier, so I'm very supportive. And I have made observations through the years. One of the things is, increased police presence. They're known out there. As far as Councilman Lasada and Councilman Young, you guys, what you guys call a nuisance is actually security for them, believe it or not. The skill machines had actually helped them with decreasing robberies in the stores. Why? Because when you have a presence in the store, is a deterrent for the robber to come in. They wait precisely for the moment that the store is empty to go in and do their thing. So as a result, it has decreased, the incidence of robberies. Why do they feel that, you're not for the small businesses? Is because when sugar tax increased, that put a dent to them. Cigarette taxes, another dent. Skill machines come up, we have a saver. It has helped. There's no fluff that the businesses are suffering. A store that used to make $2,000 now makes $1,200, $1,000 if they're lucky. So I'm here because I was asked by various of the store owners that don't speak the language to communicate this to you guys. So I don't know if this would make a difference in what you feel, but it is a big help. These skills machines is a big help to the business. It has helped them stay afloat. Literally, no BS.
We okay?
I just want to say, I'm not entirely sold on it deters robberies, right? Especially not in districts like mine, where police will tell you that many of these guys who take over the establishment conduct their business inside. And so, yeah, they're not going to stick each other up. They're friends with one another, right? They hang around with one another. So, yeah, they may not be sticking up that business at the moment, but it's because they're all involved. And if the business does get held up or stuck up, none of them inside or none of them who have been hanging outside loitering for hours in the day are going to give up the individual who stuck up the business. That's just my experience in my district.
Let me make a clarification here. Hold on.
I beg your pardon?
Because I don't want you to get this wrong. I'm not saying that they're working, the way you seem, what you're saying is that they're in cahoots with people that are doing bad business?
No, that's not what she said.
Did you understand that, or?
She said,
I misunderstood, I didn't understand what you were saying.
She pushed back gently that the more casino or people playing the machines creates a atmosphere that is safer for the store merchants. Is that what you said?
He said that that theft is deterred, or that,
Yes.
that people being stuck
Because
up,
there's a-
that the
there's a
business
large-
being stuck up is lessened because these people are in their establishment. I'm saying in districts like mine, that is not the case.
I'm talking about Southwest Philly particularly.
Right, so my point exactly, that doesn't happen across the city, right? It depends on where you are. And so in districts like mine, that is not the case. And I have to advocate, like many of my colleagues up here, we have to advocate for our constituency, right? Again, this is not about not wanting to support small businesses. This is about speaking up for the constituency that you represent.
We understand
And in
that.
districts-
I'm just telling you what they feel, why they feel that you're against them, because we increase sugar tax, we increase cigarette tax. Now we have a solution to the problem, and now we're gonna ban that as well. This is what, I'm just letting you know why they feel the way they do.
Duly noted.
The solution that you guys came up with is not the right solution. Machines, for whatever reason, they may be helping them out now in the short run.
Financially.
The fact of the matter is, they're not supposed to be there in the first place. You understand, a machine that pays out is not legal. Now, video games, something like that in the store that's doing it, that's completely different. We're talking about a machine that when somebody hits it, they go, take the ticket, and they get paid. You know what I'm saying here? That's not something that their license was granted for in the first place. You mentioned cigarettes. That's all already
There's a legal issue with that, and that's the reason why they have it. And now, I know you're saying this is not right, but what's there to say that is not right? Legally. Otherwise, we wouldn't be in square one, you know? And I know you're trying to correct it, you're trying to make it right because it's, I don't know if it's a moral issue
Young?
or,
Member Young?
I'm sorry, you can finish. I didn't want to cut you off. But.
no, I know it's a big issue, but how we're gonna address it, how we're gonna fix it is, you know, and you're thinking bending it because you feel it's morally wrong?
No, I feel it's legally wrong.
We're in a moral.
I mean, people are going to pay for services.
Guys, in order
There's
for
no
me to keep a
license.
quorum-
Sorry, go ahead.
In order for me to keep a quorum, can you finish your testimony?
No, it's fine. He has a question for
Yeah, I
you?
have a question. I mean, essentially, when some of the folks that you're representing, when they go into this business, right, they're going to the business as a convenience or grocery store. From helping develop business plans for grocery stores and things like that, I have never seen this as a part of their business plan when they're opening up a grocery store to make money. And so I just want to get the small business owners to know that how we can help you in your small business endeavors for what you're licensed for. That's what we want to try to do. We want to try to lower your cost of doing business in the city. However, when you are operating in when you're operating in a manner that is outside the scope of your business, right? This is not a groceries, this is not a convenience. You're not selling something to the public when you have these machines in there. So why, as a city, as a body, when we've seen these machines have negative impacts on our communities, why should we continue to allow these things when it's already outside the scope of your business?
Does it really have a negative effect?
Yes, it does. It does.
All right, thank you for your testimony, and I think we received your point. There are certain questions that you're making. Is it legal? Is it moral? And we're not questioning the moral aspect of it. We are questioning the legality.
I just hope you guys come up with a great solution. I hope that, you know, the business owners are able to continue business. One way to help, I don't think it would happen. Let's cut back on the sugar tax. Let's cut back on the cigarettes. And let them keep them within their scope so that we don't need scope machines if you don't want them there, you know, and let's have business operate as it was operating prior to the damage that was done when we increased those taxes. That might be a solution.
Thank you for that. And for the record, none of these individuals voted for the sugar tax. That was all me, so I apologize. With that, do we have any others to testify?
No more speakers, Mr. Chairman.
I appreciate your testimony.
Thank you for your time.
I appreciate your patience, and I understand, and we are better for it because of your testimony. Thank you. This concludes our public hearing of the Committee on Public Safety dealing with Bill number 240010. We will now conduct our public meeting, and with that, we have a quorum. And the chair recognizes Member Lozada for an amendment to Bill number 240010.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I offer an amendment to Bill Number 240010. A copy of the amendment has been circulated to all members of this committee. I move that the amendment be approved.
Second.
It has been moved and properly second that the amendment to Bill number 240010 be amended. All those in favor will say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the ayes have it. Chair again recognizes Vice Chair Lozada for a motion on Bill number 240010.
Thank you,
As
Mr.
amended.
Chairman. I move that Bill Number 240010, as amended, be reported to from this committee with a favorable recommendation, and further move that the rules of council be suspended to permit first reading of this bill at the next council session.
Second.
It has been moved and properly seconded that Bill number 240010, as amended, be reported from this committee with a favorable recommendation, and furthermore, that the rules of council be suspended to permit first reading at our next session of council. All those in favor will say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. Bill number 240010 as amended has been approved. Thank you. This concludes our business for the Committee on Public Safety, and thank you for your endurance.